Chapter 156. The miracle-working doctor who saved lives and healed the wounded was a monster. This was not something that would make Li Mu feel strange. He did not have any prejudice against demons and ghosts. Whether it was Xiao Bai, the little snake, or the bull spirit and tiger spirit that Li Mu met, they were all demons, but they did not do anything to harm people. However, the miracle doctor who had cured the plague was a rat demon. This was a little thought-provoking. The miracle doctor had already walked far away when Lin Yu suddenly said, "I think there's something wrong with this miracle doctor." Constable Zhao was stunned and asked, "What's the problem?" Lin Yu looked at the big pot and said, "I saw the herbs in the pot. They are all heat-clearing and detoxifying herbs. If these herbs could cure the plague, there wouldn't have been so many deaths in the past." Constable Zhao was surprised and said, "You mean these people were not cured?" Lin Yu shook his head and said, "I've seen these people. They have indeed recovered, but it was not because of this pot of herbs. It was because of other reasons. No matter what, that miracle doctor is definitely not as simple as he looks." Li Mu thought for a while and said, "I also think that we should observe more. Even if there's nothing wrong with that miracle doctor, if the plague recurs, we might have to do it again." "That's true." Constable Zhao nodded and said, "Everyone has worked hard today, especially Li Mu. Let's go to the county first and wait for a few days." When they arrived at the county, Constable Zhao found an inn and prepared a few rooms for them. Everyone, including Constable Zhao, shared a room in pairs. Li Mu had a room to himself so that he could have a good rest. If the plague recurred, they still needed him to treat and save people. Tai Wei Xian Palace, Yuhuang Shiqing, Inner Refinement of the Three Souls, Fetal Light Tranquility. At night, Li Mu sat cross-legged on the bed and recited the soul condensation spell. Today was the third night of the lunar month. It was the best time to condense the soul. Just after midnight, Li Mu opened his eyes and a shadow floated out of his body. With a thought, the shadow floated back into his body. Before tonight, his Fa Li was comparable to a soul condensation cultivator, but it wasn't until just now that he refined the soul of fetal light, making it more condensed and able to freely enter and leave his body. As for the magic power in his body, after refining the first soul, it also increased by a level. With the massive increase in his magic power, he felt that he could attempt to cast the third mantra. Li Mu made a gesture with one hand and silently chanted the fighting mantra. Nothing strange happened around him, but Li Mu could acutely feel that his body seemed to have undergone some subtle changes. Li Mu picked up Bai Yi and subconsciously swung his sword. All the sword moves he had learned before suddenly appeared in his mind again. They connected perfectly. Li Mu's body swung his sword uncontrollably. Like moving clouds and flowing water, he connected all the sword moves one by one. At this moment, a thought appeared in Li Mu's mind. Even if he were to fight with Li Qing, he was confident that he could win. Although the power of the fighting mantra was not obvious, it raised Li Mu's battle instincts and awareness to the limit. Li Mu had never heard of any supernatural powers or mantras that could achieve this. He was looking forward to the 6 syllables of the Sanskrit mantra. However, he had long realized that the 9 syllables of the Sanskrit mantra was harder to cast. He might have to wait until he concentrated before he could master the next word. The reason why he could refine the first soul tonight was mostly because of the virtuous willpower he absorbed during the day. This made Li Mu think of the rat demon. For demons, this kind of power was also beneficial to their cultivation. The rat demon's demonic aura was pure. It had never eaten human blood and did not have the slightest bit of resentment on its body. It had also never been tainted by human blood. However, if the rat demon was the one who spread the plague and turned into a divine doctor, directing and acting a good show to absorb the courage of the people, even if it did not cause any deaths, it would have violated the laws of the Great Zhou and would not be tolerated by the government. Of course, this was only Li Mu's guess. Whether or not the divine doctor was a problem remained to be seen. Outside, without Lu Hanyan to dual cultivate with, he could not play with Xiao Bai. After a busy day, Li Mu was physically and mentally exhausted. He did not continue to meditate and went to sleep with his clothes on. The next day, The constable that Constable Zhao had sent back to the county yamen to report returned with 2 more people. These 2 people were 2 of the 6 constables in the county yamen. One of them was surnamed Xian and the other was surnamed Sunday. The plague was not a joke. Every time it broke out, countless people would die. The county governor obviously attached great importance to it. 3 of the 6 constables in the county yamen had already arrived. Constable Zhao came down from upstairs and said to the 2, "You came at the right time. The situation in Yang County is a little strange. I suspect that the cause of this plague is not so simple." After a while, Constable Qian frowned and asked, "You mean that someone created this plague?" Constable Zhao nodded and said, "That divine doctor's actions are suspicious and worth paying attention to. Moreover, this plague has already appeared for a few days, but not a single person has died. When have you ever seen a plague outbreak without people dying?" Constable Sun stroked the short beard on his chin and said, "If that's the case, then it's a little strange. For the next 2 days, keep a close eye on that divine doctor's whereabouts and see what else he'll do." In the next 2 days, 3 more villages within Yang County's borders were infected with the plague. Although Li Mu and the others had done their best to quarantine the villages and prevent the spread of the plague to the greatest extent, considering that the patients would have an incubation period, it was possible that there were already carriers of the plague in other villages before they arrived. Coincidentally, every time a plague outbreak broke out in a village, the divine doctor would appear. After treating the people in the village, he would move on to the next village. He would travel in a straight line along the official road, and the plague would also break out in a straight line. Along the way, it would break out and be treated by him. If at this time, the people still had not discovered the abnormality, then they would be constables in vain. The outbreak of a plague usually spread in all directions from the place of origin. It was impossible for it to break out in a straight line like this. Moreover, the death rate of the plague was extremely high. In the past few days, more than 10 villages in Yangqiu County had been infected, but not a single person had died. This was even more impossible. Without a doubt, the source of this plague was that divine doctor. He had spread this plague and treated the people along the way. His goal was to absorb merit and willpower from the people to aid his cultivation. Li Mu could not help but sigh. There was always someone better than him, and there was always a demon better than a demon. Using this method of cultivation, not only did he not need to kill people, but he could also gain a good reputation. It was much better than those heretical cultivation methods that only knew how to kill people and extract their souls. Unfortunately, this method was also unorthodox. Constable Zhao said, "It looks like we still have to catch that divine doctor if we want to completely quell this plague." Li Mu originally wanted to remind them that the other party was a 4th realm demon, but after thinking about it carefully, he realized that even Constable Zhao could not tell. If he spoke, not to mention whether the other 2 would believe him or not, it would be difficult for him to explain himself. He thought about it and could only say, "This person can spread the plague without anyone noticing. His cultivation must be quite high. It's best to be careful." Constable Zhao smiled and said, "Don't worry. If the 3 of us work together, we can even fight against divine powers. That person can't be a creation realm cultivator, right?" Since Constable Zhao said so, Li Mu had nothing to worry about. 15 minutes later, Constables Zhao, Qian, and Sun, Li Mu, Lin Yu, and another old official who had condensed 3 souls left the inn and went out of the city. Yang County, Su Village. "Thank you for saving our lives, Divine Doctor." "Take care, Divine Doctor." The plague in Su Village had just been quelled. The villagers knelt on the ground and watched a middle-aged man in gray leave. The middle-aged man carried a medicine box and left Su Village. He walked into a forest and his body swayed. He held onto a tree to prevent himself from falling. After meditating for a while, his complexion improved a little. After searching the forest for a while, he finally found a few stalks of medicinal herbs. He walked to the herbs and rolled up his sleeves. There were dozens of neat scratches on his wrist. Some of them had already scabbed over, while others were new. He did not care about the scars and used his fingernail to make a new wound on his wrist. Blood dripped from the wound onto the herbs and was quickly absorbed by them. He uprooted the herbs, brushed away the soil, and put them in the medicine box. Then he walked out of the forest and along the official road, came to another village. There was also a plague outbreak in this village and more than 20 people had fallen ill. Someone stood at the entrance of the village and looked around. When he saw the middle-aged man, he was pleasantly surprised. "It's the divine doctor. The divine doctor is here. We are saved." The middle-aged man walked into the village and took out a few herbs from his medicine box. He wrote down a prescription and handed it to the village chief. He said, "Follow this prescription and add these herbs. Boil it into a pot. Drink it and you will be cured." "Thank you, divine doctor. I will ask someone to get the herbs." The middle-aged man stayed in the village for half a day until the villagers drank the medicine and recovered. Then he left the village amidst the villagers' gratitude. The villagers gathered at the entrance of the village and knelt on the ground as they watched him leave. No one noticed that hundreds of rats had crawled out from every corner of the village and left. In a valley far away from the village, the rats gathered again and surrounded the middle-aged man. The middle-aged man took a deep breath. Wisps of black gas escaped from the rats and were sucked into his body. He waved at the rats and said, "Disperse." The rats squeaked for a while and circled around him a few times before leaving the valley. The middle-aged man felt that his body was full of psychokinesis. His eyes were filled with hope as he muttered, "It should be enough." At this moment, a white light suddenly appeared on his face. His face instantly became alert as he looked at the back of the valley. A few figures walked out from the back of the valley. Constable Zhao held a bronze mirror in his hand. The mirror shone on the middle-aged man and a monster with a rat's head appeared. Constable Zhao looked at the middle-aged man and said, "So it's a rat demon. You spread the plague and pretended to be a divine doctor to fool the people and absorb their psychokinesis. You really know how to play." Chapter 157. The rats retreated from the village and followed the middle-aged man here. Li Mu and the others, who were hiding in the dark, saw everything clearly. At this point, the truth had been revealed. The plague in Yang County was deliberately spread by this rat demon. He spread the plague and pretended to be a divine doctor. He directed and acted out a good show to deceive the people and absorb their telekinesis for cultivation. The middle-aged man looked at the people who suddenly appeared and his expression changed. He looked at Constable Zhao and tried to explain, "I did these things, but I did not harm a single life. But your actions have disturbed the peace of Yang County," Constable Zhao said. "Using this method to steal the people's telekinesis is not allowed by the imperial court. Come with us to the county yamen." The middle-aged man said, "I will go to the yamen and turn myself in, but not now." As soon as he finished speaking, he quickly fled in a certain direction. However, he only ran a few steps before another figure walked out from behind a tree in front of him. He changed directions, but he was still blocked by someone. The three constables, Zhao, Qian, and Sun, surrounded the rat demon in the valley. Li Mu, Lin Yu, and another old official blocked the last exit of the valley, completely sealing off his escape route. The middle-aged man also knew that he could not easily escape today, so he rushed in the direction of Constable Qian. Constable Zhao and Constable Sun hurriedly chased after him. The three of them joined forces and fought the rat demon. Under normal circumstances, 3 assembled spirit cultivators would not be a match for a 4th realm demon in a head-on battle. However, the 3 constables of the county yamen were not ordinary assembled spirit cultivators. They were different from Wu Bo, who was in the assembled spirit realm, who was cultivated by a sect. They had experienced hundreds of battles and were extremely experienced in battle. With the advantage of their Dharma treasures, they were able to fight the demon to a standstill. Li Mu secretly performed the Do incantation. In his eyes, the movements of Zhao, Qian, and Sun suddenly slowed down. Moreover, he instantly saw through several flaws in their movements. While he was amazed at the magic of this formula, he also saw some other things. The rat demon's aura seemed to be a little weak, and he did not have the heart to fight. He only defended and did not attack, constantly looking for a way out. If it wasn't for this reason, Constable Zhao and the other 2 might not have been able to fight him to a draw. The bronze mirror in Constable Zhao's hand was a powerful Dharma treasure. Every time the light reflected by the bronze mirror shone on the rat demon, its body would pause for a moment. At that moment, Constable Qian and Constable Sun would take advantage of the situation and attack. The magical treasures in their hands were all thick and solid iron chains. The chains in their hands seemed to have a life of their own. They were very flexible and could be used to attack or defend. Taking advantage of the moment when the rat demon was shown by the bronze mirror and his body froze, 2 chains were thrown out and bound his body. The 3 bailiffs each grabbed the 3 ends of the 2 iron chains. Constable Zhao shouted, "Come and help!" Lin Yu's speed was very fast. He picked up the last end of the iron chain and the 4 of them stood in 4 different directions, firmly restricting the middle-aged man's movements. The middle-aged man let out a roar. Li Mu saw a round object in his mouth emitting a strong light. Then, his body suddenly expanded, and many gray hairs grew on his body. He used his thick arms to hold the iron chain. With a sudden tug, Constable Qian and Constable Sun were sent flying. He exerted more force, and the iron chains in Constable Zhao and Lin Yu's hands flew out. In the end, the strength of a human could not compare to that of a demon. The middle-aged man broke free of the iron chains and madly ran out of the valley. His speed was several times faster than before. The direction he was rushing in was the direction of Li Mu and the old official. A ray of sword light shot out from Li Mu's hand, blocking the middle-aged man for a moment. This moment was enough for the 3 constables to catch up and hold the middle-aged man back again. The middle-aged man let out an angry roar to the sky. "I didn't kill anyone. Why do you have to force me?" Constable Zhao said, "We're just following the law. You violated the laws of the Great Zhou. We can't let you go just like that." "Then I'll offend you," the middle-aged man hissed, and his body changed again. The hair on his body grew again, and his human head turned into a rat's head. His hands turned into sharp claws, glowing with a faint cold light. Although demons advocated transforming into human form, they could only unleash their full strength in their true form. In the blink of an eye, the middle-aged man turned into a giant rat. In the next moment, his figure disappeared before everyone's eyes. Constable Qian's body trembled, and a few bloody wounds appeared on his chest. Fresh blood seeped out of the wounds and soon turned black. "Be careful, there's poison." He only had time to warn before he fell to the ground, unconscious. Constable Zhao was shocked. "Oh no, even the primordial spirit can't resist this poison." Just as he finished speaking, he felt a sharp pain in his chest. He lowered his head and looked at the black blood flowing out of his chest. In the last second before his consciousness faded, he saw a black shadow pouncing toward Constable Sunday. Constable Sun sensed extreme danger and instinctively wanted to dodge, but he could not outrun the black shadow. He avoided his chest, but blood burst out of his arm. His primordial spirit had only left his body halfway before it was sucked back in. He fell to the ground and no longer made a sound. After 2 strange sounds, Lin Yu and the old official also fell to the ground. The black shadow pounced toward Li Mu. Li Mu stood still and did not move. Clang. Bai in his hand suddenly flew out of its scabbard, and a shadow condensed in the air. Madame Chu swung her sword, and flames burst out from the sword. The black shadow was forced back and finally revealed itself. Sensing Madame Chu's aura, a hint of shock appeared in the giant rat's mung-bean eyes. Madame Chu looked at the rat demon in front of her and asked, "Young master, how should we deal with this demon?" At first, she called Li Mu master, but later on, Li Mu felt that it was too embarrassing to call him that, so he asked her to change the way she addressed him. The rat demon's aura was weak and not at its peak. After fighting with the 3 constables for so long, it was no longer a match for Madame Chu. He glanced at the rat demon and said, "Just capture him alive. Don't kill him." Madame Chu held Bai tightly and went forward. Li Mu stood at the side and watched the demon and ghost fight. A ghost cultivator at the peak of the soul realm with dermic powers encountered a demon of the same level that had lost more than half of its strength. There was almost no suspense in controlling the situation. In the blink of an eye, The rat demon was about to be defeated. At this moment, Li Mu suddenly sensed something. He turned his head and looked into the distance. Behind him, two wisps of strong beastly aura were rapidly approaching him without concealing their presence. These two demonic auras were not inferior to the rat demon. Clearly, they were also two fourth-realm demonic cultivators. Li Mu's expression finally changed. Madame Chu had just advanced to the soul realm. Dealing with a rat demon was already her limit. She would definitely not be a match for two fourth-realm demons. Madame Chu clearly sensed the two demonic auras as well. She stopped fighting the rat demon and immediately retreated to Li Mu's side. The enemy was outnumbered. Li Mu's best course of action was to retreat. However, Constable Zhao and the others were still lying on the ground. He could not abandon them and escape alone. Li Mu said in a low voice, "Come to the sword and lend me your dermic powers." To Li Mu, Madame Chu was a high-powered power bank that could make up for the lack of his dermic powers at any time. When he sensed the abundant dermic powers in his body, the two demonic auras were already approaching. At this moment, Li Mu realized that the two demonic auras seemed familiar. It was not until two burly men descended from the sky and landed beside the rat demon that Li Mu's face revealed a look of shock. He said, "Why are you guys here?" The green bull demon and the tiger demon clearly did not expect to meet Li Mu here. They said in surprise, "Brother Li Mu, why are you here?" Li Mu looked at them and then at the rat demon. He asked, "Do you know each other?" The rat demon transformed back into his human form. He looked at the two demons and asked, "Second brother, third brother, why are you guys here?" "We're here to take you back." The tiger demon glared at him and said, "We already know what you've done." The rat demon raised his head and said, "I didn't harm a life. I just wanted to take some dermic powers to save her. When she recovers, I will go to the government office to surrender myself." Short-sighted. The tiger demon gritted his teeth and said, "Do you think you can save her by cheating some dermic powers? She was just comforting you. Can't you tell?" The rat demon's body shook as if all his strength had been sucked out. He collapsed on the ground and his face was blank. He could not help but shake his head and said, "This is impossible, this is impossible." The green bull demon looked at the people lying on the ground and had already realized what had happened. He said to Li Mu apologetically, "I'm sorry. It's all our fault for not being strict enough and causing trouble for the government. These people are just poisoned. It's not a big deal. I'll get him to detoxify them later." Li Mu was full of doubts. He looked at the rat demon who had already collapsed and asked, "What's going on?" The green bull demon sighed and said, "It's a long story." Chapter 158. The story of the rat demon was not a long one. A month ago, his wife was seriously injured. Her body and soul were both damaged. She did not have much time left. She knew that she did not have much time left, so she made up the lie that psychokinesis could heal her. It was to give him a glimmer of hope during this period of time so that he would not be too immersed in sorrow. That was why the rat demon spread the plague, deceived the villagers, and collected their psychokinesis. He was not doing this for the sake of cultivation, but to save his wife. This rat demon reminded him of a yellow rat. He did not expect the rat that everyone hated to cross the street to have such a true temperament. The green bull demon looked at the rat demon and said, "Help them detoxify first." The rat demon took a deep breath at Constable Zhao and the others. A cloud of black chi slowly floated out of their bodies and was sucked into his body. The strength of a middle realm demon was fully displayed. Even the weak rat demon was not a match for the three constables when he got serious. After they woke up, they felt the other two powerful demon auras. Their expressions changed and they were about to pick up their weapons when Li Mu hurriedly explained, "These two have no ill intentions. Don't be nervous." They looked left and right. Seeing that the two demons had no intention of attacking, the fear on their faces gradually turned to doubt. The green bull demon took the initiative to say, "Sorry for the trouble. My brother has done something wrong. In a few days, I will personally bring him to the yamen to plead guilty. Today, please make things easy for us." The three constables did not say anything. Although they really wanted to bring this rat demon back right now, They had no choice but to lower their heads when they were under someone else's roof. A single fourth realm demon was enough to wipe them all out, and there were 3 of them here. If they had ill intentions, none of them would be able to escape today. Constable Zhao was depressed. Since when were there so many core formation demons in the North County? Then he seemed to have thought of something. He suddenly looked at the Green Bull demon and asked, "Are the 3 of you the White Demon King's subordinates?" The Green Bull demon nodded and said, "Yes." The 3 constables immediately stood up. Constable Zhao stood up and cupped his fists. "So you are the White Demon King's subordinates." Sorry. In order to show respect to the strong, people usually called 5th realm demon cultivators demon kings, while 6th realm demon cultivators comparable to Taoism Dongxian were called demon emperors. Those who could be called demon kings were at least 5th realm powerhouses. It was not hard for Li Mu to connect the dots. The White Demon King mentioned by Constable Zhao was by Inxin's father. Who would have thought that the little snake's father would actually be a 5th realm Yao cultivator? Fortunately, Li Mu hadn't killed her at the time. At the time, he still couldn't bear the wrath of the Yao King. Perhaps the entire Yangqiu County would be implicated because of him. The Green Bull demon looked at Constable Zhao and the others and said, "This brother of mine did not commit such a mistake intentionally. I hope that you can explain the situation to the commandery officer when you return. Within a month, I will personally take him to the commandery office to plead guilty." Knowing the other party's identity, Constable Zhao nodded and said, "Since that's the case, we'll take our leave today." The tiger demon looked at Li Mu and asked, "Is Brother Li in the county office now?" Li Mu nodded and said, "I just transferred here not long ago." The tiger demon sighed and said, "It's not convenient these days. In a few days, if Brother Li is free, you can come to Tiger Head Mountain for a drink." Constable Zhao bowed to the 3 demons again and said to Li Mu and the others, "Let's go." At this moment, the rat demon, who had been silent since the beginning, suddenly pulled out Bai from Li Mu's hand. He slid the sword across his neck and said with a smile, "Since I can't save her, I'll go down and accompany her." However, his sword did not go down. The Green Bull demon's hand grasped the blade of the sword and Li Mu's handprint quietly loosened. The tiger demon glared at the rat demon and roared, "What are you doing? Are you crazy?" Constable Zhao sighed and shook his head. "Let's go." Li Mu thought for a moment and said, "You guys go back first. I want to take a look. Maybe his wife can be saved." Constable Zhao thought of the scene when Li Mu saved the patient. He thought for a moment and said, "If you want to go, I'll go with you." The Green Bull demon suddenly looked at Li Mu and said in surprise, "Brother Li, do you have a way?" Although Li Mu looked like he was only in the soul condensing realm, the Green Bull demon did not forget that he and the tiger demon almost died in his hands in Yangqiu County a few months ago. Li Mu said, "I'll have to see to know." Generally speaking, for demons and ghosts, if their soul or primordial spirit foundation was destroyed, they could only wait for death. However, Li Mu did not have any other skills except for the destruction of his healing foundation. As long as he was not like that old fox who was about to die and relied on his obsession to hold on, even if his life was hanging by a thread, Li Mu would be able to pull her back from the gates of hell. The rat demon grabbed Li Mu's wrist and widened his eyes. "If you can cure her, from now on, my life is yours." Every moment wasted meant an additional moment of risk. Li Mu said, "There's no time to lose. Let's go quickly." The other 2 constables brought Lin Yu and Li Mu back to the inn first. Constable Zhao was worried about leaving Li Mu alone, so he went with him to the rat demon's lair. Along the way, Li Mu learned more about the White Demon King after asking Constable Zhao. The White Demon King was a white snake who had achieved success in cultivation. He had countless strong cultivators under him, and there were more than 10 fourth realm demon cultivators. In the North County, his power was not inferior to that of Chu Jiang of Gojoseon. Unlike Chu Jiang of Gojoseon, who had done many evil deeds, the White Demon King not only restrained his subordinates from committing evil deeds, but also intimidated the other demons in the North County. They did not dare to wantonly harm others, making a great contribution to maintaining the stability of the North County. It was also because of this that even the North County officials were very polite to him. Like father, like daughter. Li Mu finally knew where Bai Yinshin's natural sense of justice came from. The green bull demon said, "Miss often mentions you. If she knows that you are here, she will definitely be very happy." Li Mu hurriedly said, "It's better not to tell her that I'm here." The snake was obviously addicted to the Buddha's light. In the past, when she stayed at Suhi's place, she would squeeze Li Mu dry before letting him go. Li Mu did not want to see her again, especially after he heard from the Green Bull Demon that she had successfully condensed a demon core and advanced to the fourth realm. The rat demon's nest was not far from here. With the use of the divine travel talisman, it only took an hour on foot. On the surface, this place looked like a village hidden in the mountains. There were more than 10 shabby thatched houses. Li Mu sensed the aura of a few transformed demonic cultivators from the houses, but most of them were demons in the shape of fetuses. In the innermost hut, there was an extremely weak demon aura. When the demons saw the rat demon return, they respectfully knelt on the ground and called out, "Your Majesty." The rat demon ignored them and ran straight to the innermost hut. Li Mu followed him in and saw a woman lying on a wooden bed in the hut. The woman's appearance was ordinary. Her face was as pale as paper, and her aura was extremely weak. She seemed to have fallen into a coma. From the demon aura emitted from her body, she should only be at the transformation stage. The moment Li Mu saw her, he heaved a sigh of relief. To be able to maintain her transformation meant that she was not at the end of her rope. Her situation was much better than that old fox. The rat demon looked at Li Mu nervously and asked, "How is it? Can you save her?" Li Mu walked to the bed and said, "Let me try." He held the woman's wrist and sent in a stream of dermic powers to check her body. This rat demon was indeed severely injured, especially her soul, which was on the verge of collapse. Fortunately, as long as she did not collapse, Li Mu could save her. Madame Chu's situation that day was even more dangerous than hers. Li Mu's right hand gradually emitted a golden light. As the golden light entered the woman's body, her soul power started to stabilize and solidify at a very obvious speed. Constable Zhao looked at this scene and clicked his tongue in wonder. The green bull demon and the tiger demon were delighted. As for the rat demon, he was already ecstatic and his body was trembling. If not for the fact that he was worried about disturbing Li Mu, he would have rushed over. A moment later, Li Mu retracted his hand. The woman on the bed regained some color and her eyes slowly opened. The rat demon immediately rushed forward and held her hand. He asked with a gentle gaze, "How do you feel?" The woman smiled and caressed his face. "I'm much better. Don't worry." Li Mu looked at the rat demon couple. At this moment, he seemed to understand what Li Si meant. He and Lu Hanyan only liked each other. This was love. The rat demon sensed the recovery of his wife's soul power. He knelt in front of Li Mu and coughed a few times. "Thank you, benefactor. From now on, my life is yours." Li Mu smiled and said, "Brother Rat, you're too polite. I'm friends with Brother Tiger and Brother Ox. This is what I should do." The green bull demon smiled. The tiger demon patted his chest and said to Li Mu, "From now on, I, Tiger Demon, will recognize you as my brother." Li Mu suddenly looked at the woman and asked, "The person who injured you that day, was it a human cultivator?" The woman nodded and said, "It was a human." Li Mu took a deep breath and asked, "What kind of human?" Just now, he felt a weak aura in the rat demon's body that was about to disappear. This aura was exactly the same as Xiao Bai's grandmother, the old fox. Chapter 159. The woman extended her hand and swiped it gently in front of her eyes. In the void, the phantom of a human man appeared. Li Mu memorized the appearance of that person. The eyes of the rat demon were filled with hatred. Li Mu did not say anything. He converted all the Buddhist dermic powers in his body into the Buddhist light of the Heart Sutra and healed the woman's essence spirit completely. The rat demon was only in the form of a transformation. Coupled with the fact that Li Mu's dermic powers were no longer what they were in the past, the healing effect was much better than when he treated the little snake back then. Li Mu said to the rat demon, "She's fine now. She'll be fine after recuperating in peace for a few months." The rat demon was filled with joy and knelt down once more, saying emotionally, "Thank you, benefactor." Li Mu smiled gently. Although the rat demon had committed a mistake, it was pardonable. Furthermore, he would rather sacrifice his essence blood and dermic powers than harm a human life. If he did not abide by his bottom line and was a sentimental person, Li Mu would not have helped him. The rat demon's wife was fine now. Li Mu was still concerned about Lu Hanyan and Xiao Bai and bade farewell to the three demons. The rat demon said hurriedly, "Benefactor, why don't you stay here for a few days? Let me do my duty as a host." The tiger demon also hooked his arm around Li Mu's shoulder and said, "That's right, brotherly. I still want to have a few drinks with you." Li Mu smiled. "The yamen is busy and my colleagues are still waiting in the city. If there's a chance next time, I'll definitely come." "Since that's the case, brotherly, you can head back first." The green bull demon smiled and said, "It won't be too late to drink when I bring him to the yamen to ask for forgiveness in a few days." The rat demon thought for a moment and suddenly forced out a ball of light from his body. "I have nothing to repay your kindness. Please accept this, benefactor." The ball of light was the psychic power he obtained from the people of a few villages. Li Mu considered for a moment and did not reject it. He accepted the ball of light. Firstly, the power was indeed useful to him. Secondly, by accepting the item, the karma between him and the rat demon could be resolved. If the rat monster clan also had a rule that they had to repay kindness, and if a rat came to him and offered itself to him in the future, Lu Hanyan would be jealous again. Besides, he still had a fox that had just transformed into a human form at home, waiting to repay his kindness. Li Mu accepted the telekinesis, and the two demons personally sent Li Mu out. Li Mu had just walked out of the thatched hut when three figures suddenly descended from the sky not far in front of him. One of them was a white-robed scholar. He was very handsome and had the appearance of a middle-aged man. He had an elegant temperament and did not exude any aura, just like an ordinary person. There were two women standing on each side of him. The person on the left was dressed in white and had a delicate appearance. When Li Mu saw her, his heart skipped a beat. It was Bai Xin, whom he had not seen for several months. The person on the right was dressed in a green dress and had a rather beautiful appearance. She had a pair of seductive peach blossom eyes, which made Li Mu's expression change even more. When Bai Xin saw Li Mu, she was first stunned, then she said in surprise, "Why are you here?" As for the woman in the green dress, when she saw Li Mu, she gritted her teeth and rushed up with her sword. She said sternly, "Little thief, give me your life." The road was narrow for enemies. Li Mu met two of them at once on this narrow road. Bai Xin was fine. Although the two of them had some misunderstandings at first, they had buried the hatchet in the end. Li Mu had been squeezed dry by her too many times, causing his legs to instinctively go soft when he saw her. As for this green snake, she had a deep hatred for Li Mu. Last time, she was sucked dry by Li Mu until her legs went soft and she was beaten up for nothing. When enemies meet, their eyes were especially red. Li Mu thought again and realized that the core condensation demon that appeared that night should be Bai Xin. No wonder he felt that the demon aura was inexplicably familiar. This green snake was actually Bai Xin's sister. Didn't that mean that she was also the White Demon King's daughter? There was no need to guess who the middle-aged scholar standing between the two of them was. The current situation did not allow Li Mu to think too much, because the green snake had already rushed over with a snake-shaped sword. A month ago, if they really fought with their lives on the line, Li Mu would not be her match without using lightning techniques. But today, the situation was completely different. The green snake chased Li Mu and slashed wildly, but she could not even touch the corner of his clothes. In Li Mu's eyes, her movements were too slow and full of flaws. A trace of surprise appeared in the green bull demon's eyes. He vaguely guessed that the reason why he and the tiger demon almost died at his hands last time was mainly because he was possessed by the female ghost by the lake. But now, seeing that a second realm cultivator like him could handle the second Miss Fierce attacks with ease, his own strength was probably not to be underestimated. Constable Zhao was secretly shocked. He realized that he had underestimated Li Mu. Although Li Mu's cultivation was not high, His combat experience was rich. Even if he were to face Li Mu himself, he might not be able to gain the upper hand. The rat demon stood at the side, watching anxiously. He wanted to stop them, but one was his benefactor and the other was his niece. For a moment, he did not know what to do. A moment later, he gritted his teeth and was about to step forward to stop them when the middle-aged scholar smiled and said, "Let's wait and see first. This young man is not so simple. Let's let her temper her listening heart." The green snake fought with Li Mu for a while, but she could not even touch the corner of his clothes. Instead, she was panting from exhaustion. She could not help but say angrily, "Thief, do you only know how to sneak attack and run? If you have the guts, fight me directly." Li Mu cursed in his heart. Even a clay figurine would have some anger. This green snake kept stepping on his nose and face. He did not intend to tolerate it any longer. But when the green snake attacked again, Li Mu's figure flashed and dodged her sword. He raised his hand again and used the scabbard to hit her, but the green snake covered her but with one hand, her face full of shame and anger. She said angrily, "Damn thief, I'm going to kill you." Pa. After a few rounds, she threw away her sword and covered her but with both hands. She looked angrily at Bai Yinshin and said, "Sister, I'm being bullied. Come and help me." Bai Yinshin glanced at her and said, "Serves you right for sucking people's yang qi. Do you still think you're in the right?" Li Mu began to have a good impression of this Xiao Bai snake. Although her IQ was a little low, her 3 views were very good. How could such a kind sister have such a sister who could not distinguish right from wrong? The green snake picked up her sword and was about to rush up again. Seeing Li Mu raise the scabbard, her body trembled. She immediately ran to the middle-aged scholar's side and hugged his arm. She said with dissatisfaction, "Father, you're not helping me." The middle-aged scholar said, "This is your fault. Go and apologize to this little brother." The green snake's eyes widened. "I apologize to him?" The middle-aged scholar looked at her and asked, "What did I usually teach you? You have to work hard to cultivate and not harm people. You sucked people's yang qi. This is already wrong. You even attacked the officials. Don't you know what you did wrong?" The green snake did not dare to talk back. She resentfully walked to Li Mu's side and said, "I was wrong." Li Mu looked at her indifferently and asked, "What did you do wrong?" The green snake gritted her teeth and said, "I shouldn't have sucked people's yang qi. I shouldn't have attacked you, okay?" Li Mu said, "Is this your attitude of admitting your mistake?" The green snake finally could not help but say angrily, "I said I was wrong. Don't go too far." The middle-aged man said, "Listen to your heart." The green snake lowered her head again. She twisted her body and said, "I was wrong. Please forgive me." Li Mu did not buy her words at all. He ignored her and cupped his hands to the middle-aged scholar and said, "Greetings, White Demon King. You're welcome." The middle-aged scholar smiled and said, "I have to thank you for showing mercy last time and letting my daughter go. This time, you saved my sister-in-law. I owe you 2 favors." In fact, Li Mu did not want to let the green snake go last time. It was just that he could not beat a core formation monster at that time. He waved his hand and said, "It's nothing. It's not worth mentioning." The middle-aged scholar thought for a while and looked at him. He asked, "Little brother, do you know how to heal the injuries of the primordial spirit?" Li Mu nodded and said, "I know a little." The green bull demon finally realized something. He looked at the middle-aged scholar and said excitedly, "Brother Li can heal my sister-in-law. Can you also heal?" A glimmer of light appeared in the middle-aged scholar's eyes. He looked at Li Mu with a burning gaze and said, "To be honest, I have a request." Chapter 160. North County, in an endless stretch of mountains. The mountain peaks stacked up, and the trees were lush. 3 figures flew across the mountain range. Li Mu stepped on Bai and was as steady as Mount Tai. His speed was not inferior to the White Demon King and the Green Bull Demon at all. Cultivators had to reach the transcendent realm before they could master the wind manipulation or sword manipulation. Bai had a sword spirit, so he didn't need Li Mu to control him. He could also manipulate the sword with Madame Chu's mana. Strictly speaking, Li Mu's true cultivation was not as good as the sword under his feet. The White Demon King strolled in the air. With every step, he could cross more than 30 meters. He glanced at Li Mu and said, "Brother Li, you have such ability at such a young age. Your future is limitless." Li Mu smiled and asked, "Does the Demon King want me to save someone?" The White Demon King nodded and said, "If Brother Li can save her, I will definitely thank you. Even if you can't, I will prepare a small gift. I won't let you come here for nothing." Li Mu felt that if he became a doctor, he would have a much better future than a constable. Although he wasn't well versed in medicine, the Buddhist light could cure all kinds of illnesses. Many monks used this method to save lives and gain merit. Even if he could not become a famous official or a famous doctor, he might be able to gain the love of the people and condense his last soul. Li Mu thought about this possibility as he hurried. The three of them flew above the mountain range for an hour and landed on a steep mountain peak. Not far ahead, there was a cave entrance. 2 demons were guarding the cave entrance. Li Mu could not see their true forms at a glance. They should be 2 core formation demons. The 2 demons walked forward and bowed to the White Demon King and the Green Bull Demon. "Big brother, second brother." Li Mu followed the 4 demons into the cave. On the cave wall, there was a pearl embedded every few steps. The light it emitted illuminated the entire cave. The cave was very deep. After walking for nearly 100 steps, they should have reached the center of the mountain. After another 10 steps or so, the temperature in the cave suddenly dropped, and it suddenly became cold. A moment later, Li Mu followed the 4 demons into a cold ice cave. The area of this ice cave was only a few feet wide. The walls were covered in white frost, and the soil under his feet was also frozen stiff. The temperature in the cave was extremely low, and Li Mu had to circulate his mana to resist the cold. There was a stone platform in the middle of the ice cave, and an ice coffin was placed on top of the stone platform. The ice coffin was crystal clear, and there seemed to be someone lying inside. The White Demon King flew onto the stone platform and said, "Brother Li, come up as well." Li Mu lightly tapped the ground with his toes and lightly leaped onto the stone platform. He looked at the ice coffin and saw a woman lying in it. The woman appeared to be in her 20s, and her appearance was somewhat similar to Bai Yinxin's. Upon closer inspection, he discovered that there seemed to be a shadow of her in the eyes of the green snake. What was different from them was that this woman had 2 horns on her head. They looked like antlers, but they did not seem to be antlers. The White Demon King looked at the woman in the ice coffin and said softly, "She is Yinxin and Tingxin's mother. More than 10 years ago, her primordial spirit was greatly damaged. I could only seal her in this ice coffin to preserve the last trace of her primordial spirit." Li Mu asked, "Is she the one the Demon King wants me to save?" The White Demon King nodded and asked, "Brother Li, do you have a way?" Li Mu thought for a moment and said, "I'll give it a try." At present, the Buddhist light triggered by the Heart Sutra had a miraculous effect on repairing damaged soul bodies and primordial spirits. However, Li Mu did not know if a person who had been unconscious for more than 10 years could be awakened. He placed one hand on the ice coffin, trying to let the golden light pass through the ice coffin. However, the ice coffin seemed to have some kind of resistance to the golden light. Li Mu activated it with all his might, but he could not let the golden light pass through the ice coffin and touch her body. Li Mu retracted his hand and asked, "Can this ice coffin be opened?" The White Demon King shook his head and said, "This ice coffin is a magic treasure I accidentally obtained. The coffin's function is to protect the primordial spirit. Her primordial spirit is already extremely weak. If the coffin is opened, her primordial spirit will immediately dissipate. I once invited Dharma manifestation and even Mahasvara realm Buddhist monks. At that time, the coffin could be opened. However, it can't be opened now. Even 5th realm or 6th realm monks could not do anything." Li Mu sighed and said, "Sorry, I can't do anything." The flame of hope in the White Demon King's eyes was extinguished. He clasped his fists at Li Mu and said, "Even so, I still have to thank you. Second brother, send him back. I want to stay here alone for a while." Li Mu and the Green Bull Demon walked out of the cave. The green bull demon sighed and said, "Brother Li, I've troubled you for nothing." "It's okay." Li Mu waved his hand and said, "Maybe the Demon King can find another way to awaken Madam in the future." The green bull demon shook his head and said, "In the past dozen years, Big Brother has tried countless methods. He invited many Taoist and Buddhist experts, but they were all helpless. He hoped countless times and was disappointed countless times. This ice coffin can at most protect sister-in-law's soul for 5 years. After 5 years, sigh, Li Mu sighed in his heart. This matter had fallen into a dead end. Because of the ice coffin, Li Mu could not save Bai Yinshin's mother. However, without the protection of the ice coffin, her primordial spirit would immediately dissipate. If Li Mu could reach the upper 3 realms in 5 years, there might be a sliver of hope. However, even if he had a pure yang body and dual cultivated with Lu Hanyan every night, it was impossible for him to reach 5 realms in 5 years. Furthermore, to use the Buddhist light to save someone required Buddhist mana. Li Mu's Buddhist mana was still in the 1st realm. Returning to the rat demon's nest, Constable Zhao was still waiting there. Bai Yinshin and her sister were still there. The 2 sisters clearly did not know what had happened. The rat demon looked at the green bull demon with an expectant gaze. The green bull demon shook his head. The rat demon sighed and did not speak again. Bai Yinshin walked over and asked Li Mu, "What did my father ask you to help with?" Since the White Demon King did not tell them, Li Mu did not intend to pry. He said, "You can ask the White Demon King when you go back." Bai Yinshin pouted and said, "He won't say even if I ask him. It's been like this for so many years." "Right, is Sister Su well?" Li Mu said. "She's fine." Bai Yinshin suddenly pursed her lips and said, "You." Seeing her pursing her lips, Li Mu's heart trembled. She used to do this when she absorbed his mana. Li Mu immediately said, "It's getting late. I have to go back." "Constable Zhao, let's go." Seeing Li Mu slip away as if he was escaping, Bai Yinshin stomped her feet. A trace of annoyance appeared on her face. The green snake walked over, looked at her and said, "You also don't like him, right? Why don't we chase after him and beat him up? If you're worried about being discovered, we can cover our faces. Didn't you hear what father said just now?" Bai Yinshin grabbed her ear and said, "Go back and cultivate well. You're not allowed to come out until you reach the core condensation stage." When Li Mu and Constable Zhao returned to the Yang County Inn, it was already nighttime. Although they didn't bring back the rat demon, they didn't work for nothing. At least the plague in Yang County had subsided, and no one had died. They could report back. The White Demon King was powerful in the North County. He wasn't weaker than Chu Jiang of Gojoseon. Moreover, he was different from Chu Jiang of Gojoseon. He intimidated the demons in the North County. To a large extent, he had helped the government. Even the county government had to give him face. After a busy day, Constable Zhao suggested that they rest in Yang County for a night and go back the next morning. Although Li Mu wanted to go back, he could only follow the majority's decision. After refining the first soul, Li Mu sat cross-legged on the bed and stabilized his cultivation. Suddenly, there was a knock on the door. Li Mu got off the bed and saw Constable Zhao and the Green Bull Demon standing outside. The Green Bull Demon handed a wooden box to Li Mu and said, "This is the Demon King's gift to you. If he could save the woman in the ice coffin, he would accept the gift." Since he didn't succeed, Li Mu was too embarrassed to accept the gift. He said, "I didn't help the Demon King much. I can't accept this gift." The Green Bull Demon shoved the wooden box into his arms and said, "Take it. It's just a few dozen pieces of spiritual jade. The Demon King won't take back what he gave out. Also, the Demon King has a request. If you don't accept it, I'll be too embarrassed to ask." Li Mu wanted to refuse, but when he heard that it was a few dozen pieces of spiritual jade, he swallowed back his words and asked, "What request?" The Green Bull Demon looked at the figure behind him and said, "The Demon King has a headache over Tingxin's stubbornness. A few days ago, she absorbed people's yang qi and made a mistake. The Demon King wants her to follow you and do something for the people in the North County to make up for her mistake." Only then did Li Mu notice that behind the Green Bull Demon, the green snake was looking at him fiercely. Li Mu decisively handed the wooden box back to the Green Bull Demon and said, "I can't accept this gift without doing anything. I really can't accept it." Chapter 161. Li Mu rejected the White Demon King's unreasonable request without hesitation. He was a bailiff, not the director of a zoo. Don't send any snakes, insects, rats, and ants to him. If his desire had not been perfected, he could bring the green snake with him. He could suck her whenever he wanted and it would help his cultivation. However, he had already condensed his desire. What use did he have for her? Thinking of the green snake swaying in front of him all day, Li Mu was extremely vexed. The green snake glared at Li Mu and said through gritted teeth, "Do you think I want to follow you? If my father hadn't forced me, I wouldn't even want to look at you." What a coincidence. Me too. Li Mu did not have the patience to hear her out. He looked at the Green Bull Demon and said, "Sorry, Brother Bull. I really can't help you with this matter." The Green Bull Demon sighed and did not force him. He said, "The Demon King has already decided to send her to the Yamen to atone for her crimes. If it's not convenient for Brother Li to bring her along, you can take care of her." Constable Zhao took a step forward and said, "I will tell the county lieutenant of this matter. However, I can't guarantee whether he will agree or not." The Green Bull Demon handed him an envelope and said, "This is a letter from the Demon King to County Lieutenant Shen. Please pass it on for me." When he left, he still left the spiritual jades behind. Li Mu refused many times but to no avail. He could only accept them for the time being. Although these spiritual jades were the White Demon King's thanks for making a trip to the cave and had nothing to do with the green snake, she was still the White Demon King's daughter. At most, Li Mu would save her snake life when she was in danger. The next morning, everyone ate breakfast at the inn and prepared to return to the county capital. The green snake had stayed the night before. In the morning, she still did not treat Li Mu well. Her attitude made Li Mu feel very reassured. This way, Lu Hanyan would definitely not misunderstand. There was no need for Li Mu to deliberately keep his distance from her. Li Mu went upstairs to pack his luggage. Just as he stepped out of the inn, he heard an angry shout. "You beggar, you really don't want face when I give it to you. It's your fortune that the young master has taken a liking to you. Isn't following the young master better than being a beggar?" Li Mu turned his head and saw a man dressed like a servant standing beside a luxuriously dressed young master on the street not far away. The man was arrogantly scolding the young master. At the corner of the street, there were two beggars, one old and one young. The beggar girl had fallen to the ground and was covering her face. Her eyes were filled with fear. The noble young master looked at the beggar girl and said, "She is a little dirty, but she is still a beauty. Bring her back to the mansion, wash her clean, and then send her to my room." The old beggar hugged the luxurious young master's leg and begged for mercy anxiously, but was kicked away. That luxurious young master wanted to kick a few more times to vent his anger, but suddenly a huge force came from his butt. His whole body flew out and landed face first on the ground. Even one of his front teeth was knocked out. He spat out a mouthful of blood and looked angrily behind him. He saw a young man standing there. The young master covered his mouth and pointed at Li Mu. He said angrily, "What are you all standing there for? Beat him to death." The servants looked at Li Mu, but didn't dare to rush forward. After all, those people were wearing the county government's uniform. They couldn't afford to offend them. Some of the sharp-eyed ones had already sneaked away to call for reinforcements. After being a constable for so long, Li Mu couldn't bear to see this kind of thing happen. He first helped the old beggar up, then the young girl, and asked, "Are you all right?" The old beggar stood up with difficulty and shook his head. He said, "Thank you, benefactor. We are fine." Li Mu then realized that this old and young pair were the beggar father and daughter who had taken shelter from the rain in front of the tea house that day. Constable Zhao walked up and looked coldly at the young master. He said angrily, "Bastard, who gave you the guts to kidnap a civilian girl in broad daylight? Get out of the way, get out of the way." A few constables from the county government squeezed through the crowd. A middle-aged constable saluted Li Mu and the others. He said, "We have made a fool of ourselves in front of you. Leave the rest to us." He glanced at the young master who was still lying on the ground and said to the two constables behind him, "Take him back." The two constables immediately walked forward and took the young master away. The middle-aged constable looked at Constable Zhao and said, "You all have solved the plague in Yang County. The county magistrate is very grateful. He will host a banquet in the restaurant at noon. I hope you all will do him the honor." Constable Zhao waved his hand and said, "No need." The middle-aged constable didn't force them. He said, "Then we will take our leave." Lin Yu's face was filled with indignation as he said, "Just now when that man was molesting the girl, these constables were watching from afar. After we taught him a lesson, they immediately ran over. They were obviously helping him out. How can such people be constables?" Constable Zhao sighed and said, "If the upper beam is not straight, the lower beam will be crooked. Like county magistrate, like subordinates." Lin Yu didn't understand. He asked, "Are we going to let him go just like that?" Constable Zhao shook his head and said, "This is Yang County, not the county government." As long as nothing big happened, Green Snake stood beside Li Mu and sneered. She said, "This is human. Your laws can't even be enforced by you humans. What right do you have to control us?" Li Mu ignored her. He took out the silver and put it in the old man's hand. He said, "Take this money. Leave Yang County and don't come here again." The old man and the girl knelt down and thanked him. Li Mu sent them out of the city before he waved and left. Lin Yu was silent all the way. Constable Zhao glanced at him and said, "If you have something to say, just say it." Lin Yu lowered his head and said, "Constables are supposed to uphold justice for the people and punish the strong. But now they are in cahoots with evil people. I don't know what's the point of being constables." Constable Zhao patted him on the shoulder and said, "It's because of those people that it's more meaningful for you to be constables. If you don't even have people like you, being a constable is really meaningless." Green Snake was thinking. After a while, she asked Li Mu, "What does he mean?" Li Mu didn't explain. He only said, "You will know in the future." After returning to the county government, Constable Zhao reported the situation in Yang County to Commandant Shin. He also mentioned the matter of the White Demon King. Commandant Shin didn't refuse to let Green Snake atone for her crime in the county government. The county government still had to give face to the North Demon King. Coincidentally, he arranged for Bai Tingxin to be under Constable Zhao. She was in charge of the same area as Li Mu and the others. Li Mu had a headache about this. Fortunately, Green Snake would only stay in the county government for a month. After a month, she would go back to where she came from. Everyone had contributed a lot to this trip to Yang County. Lin Yu and the old official were allowed to enter the Huang house. They both chose spiritual jades that were helpful for cultivation. Li Mu's contribution was the greatest, so he could enter the Xian house. He was already familiar with the Xian house. Now, Lu Hanyan and Wan Wan both had their own magic weapons. Li Mu also didn't lack spiritual jades. He thought for a while and chose a sword that was suitable for Xiao Bai. She had already transformed. She could learn human Taoism and use human weapons. When Li Mu returned home, Lu Hanyan wasn't there. Wan Wan and a beautiful girl were playing on the swing in the courtyard. In Li Mu's impression, Xiao Bai had always been a cute little fox. When he was free, he would hug and squeeze her in his arms. She had transformed into a human without any warning. Li Mu couldn't completely adapt to it. Another reason why he couldn't adapt was that she was too beautiful after transforming. Monsters could not choose their appearance after they transformed. Their appearance after they transformed was related to many factors. The most important factor was their race and their appearance before they transformed. This point was also recorded in the monster records of the 10 continents. According to the aesthetic standards of humans, foxes were probably the most beautiful among the monsters that had transformed. Most of the fox demons who transformed were handsome men and beautiful women. In the folklore, most of the fox demons who seduced humans with their beauty were described as fox demons. When snake demons transformed, their appearance was generally not bad. Their figures were even better. This point could be seen from the Bai sisters. Not to mention their appearance, their slender and graceful waists were something that few women could compare to. There was a saying since ancient times that snake demons were good at dancing. No one could twist their waists better than them. Compared to the fox and snake demons, most of the transformed rat demons were shifty-eyed and not very good-looking. Tiger demons and ox demons, regardless of their gender, were very muscular. This was unavoidable. Li Mu couldn't describe Xiao Bai's beauty with words. When a woman's beauty reached a certain level, there was no distinction between superior and inferior. For example, Li Qing, Lu Hanyan, and even the Bai sisters. It could only be said that each had their own merits. Those who preferred colder temperaments would prefer Li Qing. Lu Hanyan was full of femininity. The white snake and green snake sisters had seductive figures. It was impossible to say who was more beautiful. However, if Xiao Bai was added, the scales in many people's hearts would tilt. Young master, benefactor. Li Mu walked in from outside. The two girls stopped swinging and quickly ran over. Li Mu asked, "Where's young miss?" Wan said happily, "Young miss is in the shop. I'll go find her. Young miss has been very worried about you these 2 days. She goes to the yamen several times a day." After saying that, she quickly ran out. Li Mu finally adapted to Xiao Bai's current appearance. He handed the sword to her and said, "This is for you. Take it as a gift for your transformation." Xiao Bai took the sword and said, "Thank you, benefactor." Then she looked up at Li Mu and said, "Benefactor, you said that I would repay you after I transformed. Now that I have transformed, how do you want me to repay you?" Li Mu was just delaying at that time. He didn't expect her to transform so quickly. He waved his hand and said, "Other than giving yourself to me, anything is fine." Xiao Bai thought for a moment and said, "Then I'll help you have a child." In Strange Stories from a Chinese Studio, there was a heroine who repaid her kindness in this way. Li Mu glanced at Lu Hanyan, who had walked to the door. He looked at Xiao Bai seriously and said, "Promise me that you won't watch Strange Stories from a Chinese Studio again." Chapter 162. With Xiao Bai's successful transformation, Li Mu's worries came. Before the transformation, she only wanted to give herself to Li Mu, but now she wanted to bear his children. Lu Hanyan was standing next to him. Li Mu said to Xiao Bai earnestly, "Actually, there are many ways to repay a debt of gratitude. You don't have to give yourself to him or bear his children. I saved your life once, and you can save me in the future. Your task now is to cultivate well and avenge your grandmother in the future." Xiao Bai was changed the topic by him. Thinking of her dead grandmother and clansmen, she nodded seriously and said firmly, "I will cultivate well and avenge my grandmother." Li Mu saw the smile on Lu Hanyan's face. He really should have let her see how he had righteously rejected the two snakes. Absence makes the heart grow fonder. After dinner, Lu Hanyan came to Li Mu's room very early. The two sat on the bed hand in hand. Lu Hanyan suddenly asked, "How are you going to treat Xiao Bai in the future?" Li Mu said, "She is homeless now. Let her stay at home for the time being. The Celestial Fox clan will leave after repaying their debt of gratitude. This is their tradition." Lu Hanyan said, "How are you going to repay your debt of gratitude? Do you really want her to bear your children?" Li Mu smelled a hint of jealousy again. He said with a smile, "I want you to bear my children." Lu Hanyan turned from jealousy to shyness. She gently pinched Li Mu and said, "Let Wan bear your children. She loves children the most." After returning from Yang County, Li Mu's life returned to a rare peaceful state. There was nothing much to do in the yamen. He just read books every day until he went to the yamen. Then he went home to cook with Lu Hanyan and cultivate together. His life was very comfortable. The only fly in the ointment was that the yamen was idle and had nothing to do. The snake swayed in front of Li Mu's eyes, which annoyed him. He could feel that the snake's hatred for him had not dissipated, and it was probably plotting something. Not long after he sat down and read a few pages of the book, Bai Tingxin came in from outside and asked, "How did you and my sister meet? I always feel that your relationship is not right. Ever since she came home last time, she has been absent-minded." Li Mu, "I just happened to know her. How is it a coincidence? Go back and ask your sister." Bai Tingxin had a suspicious look on her face. She paced back and forth in front of Li Mu and said, "You guys didn't tell me. There must be a problem." Li Mu thought about it and said, "Speaking of your sister, I also have a question." Bai Tingxin asked, "What is it?" Li Mu asked, "Why is your father a white snake and your sister a white snake, but you are a green snake? You couldn't have been picked up from the outside, could you?" Bai Tingxin said angrily, "You are the one who was picked up from the outside." She ignored Li Mu and walked outside alone, with a suspicious look on her face. After asking that question, Li Mu did not see Bai Tingxin for 2 days. Just when he thought that the demon could not stand the boredom of the yamen and ran back to the mountain, he saw her again in the duty room. Bai Tingxin looked at Li Mu and said, "Let me tell you, of course I am my father and mother's daughter. My grandmother is a green snake. I didn't take after my father, I took after my grandmother." Li Mu did not know the hereditary rules of the snake race. He just wanted to live a quiet life for 2 days, but now his quiet days were over. She had been swaying in front of Li Mu for the whole morning, deliberately not letting him read in peace. Li Mu put down the book and said, "Can you be quiet for a while?" Bai Tingxin said, "No." Li Mu said, "Why don't I tell you a story so that you won't bother me in the future?" Bai Tingxin moved a chair and sat opposite Li Mu, saying, "You go first." Once upon a time, there was a green snake. What happened next? She liked to annoy people. And then she died. Bai Tingxin was obviously not satisfied with the story, so Li Mu threw her a copy of the Legend of the White Snake published by the Yunyan Pavilion for her to read. The White Demon King did a good job in educating his children. This green snake could read and write. She held the book and read it with great interest. In order to stop her from bothering him, Li Mu simply gave her the complete collection of strange stories from a Chinese studio. Soon, Bai Tingxin was addicted to the novel and could not extricate herself. Li Mu's ears were finally quiet. After Bai Tingxin finished reading the last strange stories from a Chinese studio, she asked Li Mu, "You humans all talk about love. What is love?" Li Mu was not interested in talking about love with her. He said, "You'll understand when you grow up." Bai Tingxin closed the book and said, "Is love really that good? I also want to find someone to talk about love with." She walked out of the guard room and walked around the yamen. Then she turned back and said, "You're the most good-looking person in this yamen. How about you and I talk about love?" Li Mu said without hesitation, "Nothing. I have someone I like." Bai Tingxin glanced at him and said, "Then don't talk about love. Who cares about you? I'll find someone better looking than you." As soon as she finished speaking, a voice came from outside. "Lady Lu is here. Li Mu is on guard duty. You can go in." Lu Hanyan walked to the guard room. When she saw Bai Tingxin, she was slightly stunned. She asked Li Mu, "Is it almost time to go to the yamen?" Sometimes she would come to the yamen and wait for Li Mu to go home together. Li Mu stood up and said, "Let's go." Although it was not time to go to the yamen, he had nothing to do in the yamen. Arrestor Zhao would not say anything if he went back 15 or 30 minutes earlier. Bai Tingxin looked at Lu Hanyan and asked, "Is she the one you like?" Lu Hanyan looked at Bai Tingxin and asked, "Who is this?" Li Mu said, "Ignore her. Let's go." Bai Tingxin rolled her eyes and suddenly hugged Li Mu's arm. She twisted her body and said, "That night in bed, you said you liked me the most. Now that you have a new lover, you don't want to talk to me anymore." Li Mu pulled his arm out of her chest and held Lu Hanyan's hand. Under Bai Tingxin's gloating eyes, they walked out calmly. He and Lu Hanyan had been together for so long and had experienced so many misunderstandings. How could there be no trust between the two of them? Lu Hanyan walked out of the yamen hand in hand with him. Then she looked at Li Mu and asked, "How did you offend her?" Li Mu said, "A snake demon. She suffered a little in my hands. Since then we have been enemies." Lu Hanyan said in surprise, "Why is a snake demon in the county yamen?" Li Mu said, "It's a long story. I'll tell you when we go back." When they talked about Bai Tingxin, they had to talk about Bai Yinxin. When they talked about the process of Li Mu and Bai Yinxin getting to know each other, they had to talk about Suhi. It was not until after dinner that Li Mu told Lu Hanyan everything clearly. After listening to him, Lu Hanyan's attention was no longer on by Tingxin. She asked Li Mu, "You have another snake demon friend and a female ghost friend?" Li Mu immediately explained, "Don't misunderstand anything. Heaven and earth can testify to my feelings for you. I'm just friends with them. If I lie to you, I'll be struck by lightning, rumble." As soon as his voice fell, a muffled sound suddenly came from above Li Mu's head. He was startled. When he looked up, he found that the originally clear sky was suddenly covered with dark clouds in a short time. Lightning flashed in the dark clouds, and then there was a series of roars. Li Mu looked at Lu Hanyan. His throat moved and he said, "Believe me, I don't have that ability. I didn't say that I don't believe you." Lu Hanyan held his hand and suddenly felt a chill on her face. When she looked up, she said in surprise, "It's snowing." Li Mu looked up at the sky and saw snowflakes falling from the sky. Although the winter in Beijing was cold, it rarely snowed in the past. This year's snow came exceptionally early. Furthermore, it was strange. There were no signs at all. After only a quarter of an hour, the dark clouds in the sky inexplicably dispersed. The snowflakes that fell to the ground also melted without a trace. If it were not for the wet marks on the ground, no one would know that it had just snowed. Wanwan and Xiaobai had already run out excitedly and were ready to make a snowman. But the snow suddenly stopped, and they walked back to their rooms in disappointment. Early the next morning, Li Mu went to the yamen and found the atmosphere in the duty room very solemn. Just as he walked into the duty room, Constable Zhao immediately said, "Get ready. We're going to Yang County in an hour." They had just returned from the plague in Yang County a few days ago, and now they were going to Yang County in such a hurry. Li Mu asked, "What happened in Yang County?" Constable Zhao said solemnly, "Last night, a malicious spirit appeared in Yang County. It slaughtered the entire family of the county magistrate, more than 10 constables, and a wealthy businessman and his son." Li Mu was shocked. The entire family of an imperial court official was slaughtered, and the county magistrate was massacred. How many years had it been since such a terrible case had happened in Great Zhou? He asked subconsciously, "Was it done by Chu Jiang of Gojoseon?" Constable Zhao shook his head. Constable Zhao shook his head and said, "According to the news from Yang County, the county magistrate and the wealthy businessman and his son colluded with the officials and merchants to cause a woman to die unjustly. But they didn't expect that before the woman died, she was full of resentment. That night, she turned into a peerless malicious spirit and slaughtered all those who harmed her. With the county magistrate's defensive power, even a 4th-level ghost would not be able to break through. After a normal person died, they would at most turn into a Yin spirit with heavy resentment. Even with Su He's help, people like Lin Wan, who had died unjustly, were only 2nd-level resentful spirits." Li Mu asked in disbelief, "What's that malicious spirit's realm?" Constable Zhao was silent for a moment, then said, 5th level. Li Mu's face was full of disbelief. He blurted out, "How is that possible?" Chu Jiang of Gojoseon had cultivated for many years, but he was only at the 5th level. How could someone immediately reach the 5th level after just dying? Constable Zhao said, "According to the surviving constables in the county magistrate's office, before the woman died, she looked up at the sky in grief and shouted a sentence." Li Mu suddenly had a bad premonition. He asked, "What sentence?" Constable Zhao thought for a moment, then said, "Those who do good suffer poverty and have a shorter life. Those who do evil enjoy wealth and have a longer life. Earth, you can't tell good from bad. What is earth? Heaven, you are wrong to judge the virtuous and foolish to be heaven." Li Mu stood in a daze, his mind buzzing. Chapter 163. Those who do good suffer poverty and have a shorter life. Those who commit evil enjoy riches and have a longer life. Earth, you cannot tell good from bad. What is earth? Heaven, you are wrong to judge the virtuous and foolish to be heaven. The woman's last words were from Do Yi's Injustice. Li Mu had recited Do Yi's Injustice once in the Yunyan Pavilion. Later, he was worried that he would be struck by lightning if he cursed at the heavens, so he never dared to recite it again. How could a woman from Yang County have recited it? Li Mu's first thought was that this woman came from the same world as him. Soon he realized something. He looked at Constable Zhao and asked, "That woman who died of injustice, is she the little beggar we met in Yang County?" Constable Zhao shook his head and said, "We haven't investigated clearly yet." Li Mu muttered, "She must be." At this moment, he finally understood the reason for the inexplicable heavy rain in the county city that day. In the other world, Do Yi's injustice was fictional. Most of the people who died of injustice would not have their day of redress. Even more so, they would not be able to sense the power of heaven and fulfill their vows one by one, but this was a mysterious and strange world. This world had all sorts of inexplicable and mysterious powers. The heavenly Tao of this world had a unique operating pattern. Although it was difficult to understand, it truly existed. Whether it was supernatural powers or Taoist techniques, they all used incantations or mantras to communicate with heaven and earth. Cultivators used Taoist vows to communicate with heaven and earth. If they went against their vows, they would really be punished by heaven and earth. Here, the gods were watching. One had to be careful with one's words. One could not simply curse heaven and earth. One of those two sentences must have been like Taoist techniques and mantras. It could communicate with the power of heaven and earth and cause heaven and earth to resonate. It could raise a Yin spirit to such a terrifying level. The reason Li Mu could not be like that woman was because he did not have any resentment. His overflowing resentment, coupled with heaven and earth's resonance, created such a peerless evil spirit. While Li Mu was still struggling to calm down, one of the constables suddenly wondered, "That's strange, why do these two sentences sound so familiar?" Suddenly, he slapped his head and said, "I remember now. That day when I was listening to a storyteller at the newly opened tea house in the prefecture capital, this sentence was said by the storyteller. The main culprit of this case is the storyteller. Boss, should we capture the storyteller first?" Catch my ass." Constable Zhao could not help but smack him hard on the head and scolded angrily, "The main point is that storyteller. The main point is that the woman was wronged and died." Her resentment shocked the heavens and earth, and she was recognized by the heavens and earth. "You still dare to arrest people? Do you want to create another evil spirit and slaughter the county government?" The bailiff trembled and hugged his head, not daring to say another word. Constable Zhao took a deep breath and said, "The county magistrate of Yang County has done all sorts of evil deeds and will be punished by the heavens. However, he is still an official of the imperial court. Li Mu, Lin Yu, you two get ready. In a moment, you will follow the two officials to Yang County." Li Mu asked, "Are we going to get rid of that evil spirit?" Constable Zhao sighed and said, "It is not certain who will get rid of who. We need to be wary of King Chujiang. With such an evil spirit appearing in the world, King Chujiang will definitely try his best to rope her in. Once she is subdued by King Chujiang, it will be a catastrophe for the entire North County." Li Mu thought about the clear eyes of the little beggar and could not help but clench his fists. Those who do good suffer poverty and have a shorter life. Those who do evil enjoy wealth and have a longer life. The Thousand Illusions Venerable had said the same thing to him. At that time, Li Mu had scoffed at it. Now, he deeply understood that this seemingly bright world had always been hiding an unknown darkness. It had been like this since ancient times. A county magistrate was killed and the county government was massacred. This kind of thing had only happened a few times since the founding of the Zhou dynasty. It would definitely attract the attention of the imperial court. The North County could not suppress this matter. The county government had already sent the news from the relay station to the central county. It was believed that the imperial court would quickly react. The evil spirit had caused the Yang County government to be destroyed. This time, the North County magistrate and the county lieutenant would lead the 6 constables and more than 10 constables to the Yang County to maintain the peace of the Yang County. What they had to fight was not only the evil spirit but also King Chujiang and his ghost generals, who might take advantage of the situation. Li Mu had an hour. He had to go home and tell Yu Hanyun. After a while, Yu Hanyun stood in the courtyard and said unhappily, "You just returned home for a few days. Why are you leaving again?" Li Mu held her hand and explained, "A big case suddenly happened in the Yang County. We have to go immediately. Otherwise, more people might be in danger. Yu Hanyun asked, how many days will you be gone this time? Li Mu said, I don't know yet. But as long as the matter in the Yang County is solved, I will immediately rush back. Yu Hanyun sighed and silently helped Li Mu pack his luggage. She hugged him gently and leaned her head on his chest. She said, be careful. After cuddling with Yu Hanyun for a while, Li Mu rushed to the county government as fast as he could. This time, the county magistrate and the county lieutenant had to go to the Yang County. He could not be late like last time. When he rushed back to the county government, not everyone had arrived. What surprised him was that Li Si was also standing in the crowd. Li Si pointed at his face and signaled to Li Mu with his eyes. Li Mu wiped away the lipstick mark on his face and pointed at Li Si's face. There was a huge lipstick mark on both sides of his face. Li Si reached out and rubbed his face. Li Mu asked, are you going to the Yang County too? Li Si sighed softly and said, father-in-law said that my cultivation came too fast. He wants me to go out and train more so that I can protect Miao Miao in the future. Li Si's magic power was forcefully increased by his courage and soul. He had the magic power to condense the soul but did not have the strength to condense it. He was strong on the outside but weak on the inside. He indeed needed to train. A figure walked in from outside. When Green Snake saw the scene in the courtyard, she asked in surprise, where are you going? Li Mu said, the Yang County. I want to go too, she said happily. Finally, I have something to do. I've been bored to death these days. Constable Zhao walked forward and said, this trip to the Yang County is very dangerous. Your life may be in danger. For Miss Tingxin's safety, you should stay in the county government. Bai Tingxin frowned and asked, what do you mean? Are you saying that I'm too weak? Constable Zhao said helplessly, I didn't mean that. Bai Tingxin snorted and glanced at Li Mu. She said, Li Mu will protect me. You promised my father. Li Mu shook his head and said, I can't even protect myself, let alone you. Bai Tingxin looked at him and said, that's not what you said when you were in bed. Li Mu covered her mouth and said, go if you want to. If you really encounter any danger, I can only save your life. If you lose an arm or a leg, you will bear the consequences. These two snakes, one green and one white, were two extremes. They were both born of the same mother. Bai Yinxin was as innocent as a little white flower. Why was her sister so green? Bai Tingxin took away Li Mu's hand and said angrily, next time you cover my mouth, I will bite you and poison you. Li Mu glanced at her and said, don't talk nonsense next time. This snake demon obviously had no sense of propriety, justice, integrity, and shame. She would talk about sex all the time. People who didn't know would think that she had no fear of sex demons. After hooking up with Yu Hanyun, she hooked up with the White Demon King. After Bai Tingxin messed around with Li Mu for a while, she ignored him and walked around the courtyard. Sometimes she stopped in front of the constables and looked at them carefully. Everyone was scared by her stare. Because of her background, they didn't dare to say anything. Bai Tingxin looked at them and muttered carefully. This one is too old. This one is too ugly. This one is old and ugly. This one is too fat. This one is too thin. After walking around the courtyard, she came to Li Mu and Li Si again. She first looked at Li Si and shook her head. You look okay, but you are too thin. You don't have enough yang qi. I can tell you that you are not a virgin. Finally, she came to Li Mu and circled around him. She poked his arm and patted his chest. She said, you're not tall, not thin, and you're fleshy. Your yang qi is more than all of them combined. Your yang qi must still be there. She licked her lips and said to Li Mu, why don't you abandon that big-breasted woman and be with me? My family has countless spiritual jades. You can use as much as you want. My father also has many treasures. You can choose whatever you want. If Yu Hanyun heard this, Wan Wan and Little Bai might have eaten snake soup today. Li Mu smiled and whispered in her ear, sorry, I like big-breasted women. Bai Tingxin lowered her head and looked at her flat body. She said unwillingly, what is so good about that woman? Other than her big breasts, there is nothing good about her. Li Mu ignored her. He knew that Yu Hanyun was good. There was no need for him to tell her. The crowd waited in the courtyard for another 15 minutes. Two figures came in from outside. One of them was County Lieutenant Shin, whom Li Mu was familiar with. The other was a middle-aged man. Although there was no fluctuation of mana, Li Mu felt that he was unfathomable. There was no need to guess his identity. He was County Lieutenant Chen Miao Miao's father and Li Si's father-in-law. He was one of the two Destiny Realm Masters in the county government. His strength was one realm higher than County Lieutenant Shin. Arrestor Zhao first told County Lieutenant Shin about Baiting Xin. County Lieutenant Shin looked at her and did not say anything. County Lieutenant Shin waved his hand and a white light shot out from his sleeve. It turned into a huge flying boat and floated above the crowd. He jumped onto the bow of the boat and said, "Come on up." Everyone jumped onto the flying boat. County Lieutenant Shin made a Dharma seal. Li Mu sensed that there was an invisible air shield around the flying boat. Then, the flying boat soared into the sky and headed out of the city. Li Mu stood on the flying boat. It was very stable. The scenery under his feet was moving backward rapidly. The speed of the flying boat was more than twice as fast as a high-level teleport talisman. After half an hour, the flying boat descended from the sky and landed in the county government of Yang County. Chapter 164. The sun was shining brightly today, but everyone was shivering as they stood in the courtyard of Yang County's Yamen. In front of Li Mu and the others were 19 corpses. 13 constables, the county magistrate's family of 4, and the corpses of the Wang family's wealthy father and son were all here. These people's eyes were wide open, their mouths were wide open, and their faces were filled with terror. It was obvious that they had suffered a great shock before they died. 19 people died with their eyes wide open. They looked up at the sky in horror. It was a terrifying scene. Some of the less experienced bailiffs lowered their heads after a glance, not daring to take a second look. Even Green Snake, who had always been fearless, hid behind Li Mu, his face a little pale. Li Mu used his heavenly eye to check and saw that the bodies of these 19 people were empty. From their expressions, it seemed that the moment they saw the female ghost, their 3 souls and 7 spirits had been sucked away, leaving behind such a miserable state before death. Although the county magistrate of Yang County did not have a high cultivation base, he was still a spirit condensation cultivator. Even his primordial spirit did not last for more than an instant in front of that peerless evil spirit. County Premier Chen's face was as calm as still water. He glanced at the corpses and asked loudly, "Who's in charge of the county government of Yang County now?" Like Yangqiu County, Yang County was just a small county. There were no magistrates and no military officers. As soon as County Magistrate Chen finished speaking, a low-ranking official ran forward and quickly said, "Your Excellency, the county magistrate and the arrestor have been killed by the evil spirit. I'm the county jailer. If you have any questions, you can ask me." County Prime Minister Chen took a deep breath and said, "Tell me the truth about the whole thing." The official shuddered and said with a trembling voice, "It's like this. Squire Wang and his son usually have a close relationship with the county magistrate. The Wang father and son always give the county magistrate a lot of filial piety during the holidays. The county magistrate also takes care of them a lot. Yesterday, the young master of the Wang family kidnapped 2 women and brought them back. One of them is the daughter of a farmer in Yang County, and the other is a pretty little beggar." He swallowed a mouthful of saliva and continued, "After the young master of the Wang family kidnapped the farmer's daughter back home, he wanted to rape her but accidentally killed her. The farmer complained to the county magistrate, and the Wang father and son had already given the county magistrate a large sum of benefits. They blamed the little beggar for the woman's death." The jailer's face was pale and he said in a trembling voice, They secretly killed the little beggar's father and buried him in the mass grave. They also wanted to execute the little beggar in the prison and make it look like she committed suicide for fear of punishment. Before the little beggar died, she pointed to the sky and cursed. After she died, lightning flashed and thunder rumbled outside, and it snowed heavily. Later, She turned into an evil spirit and killed the county magistrate's family, the father and son of the Wang family, and those bailiffs. County Premier Chen clenched his fists and said angrily, "Bastard!" As soon as he finished speaking, there was a sudden commotion outside the government office. A bailiff ran in and said hurriedly, "Your Excellency, it's not good. Many people have broken in." County Premier Chen stepped out, and the people who broke into the government office suddenly seemed to have an invisible wall in front of them. They could not take another step forward. County Premier Chen looked at them and asked, "I am the County Premier of the North County. What do you want to do by breaking into the government office in broad daylight?" Hearing that he was an official of the county, the people discussed and knelt down. "Your Excellency, I have a grievance to report." "I have a grievance too." "Your Excellency, please help us." County Premier Chen looked at the chaotic scene and spoke again. His loud voice echoed among the people. "Line up in order and speak one by one." The people who had just arrived at Yang County from the county did not expect that the first thing they would face when they arrived at Yang County was a crowd of angry people. The 19 corpses were temporarily placed in the inner hall. County Premier Chen personally opened the government office to let the people of Yang County complain. A middle-aged man walked into the hall first. After kneeling down, he said loudly, "Your Excellency, I want to report Wang Lun of the Wang family and the county magistrate of Yang County, Qin Chuan. A year ago, Wang Lun ordered people to kidnap my daughter and sully her innocence. She could not bear the humiliation and committed suicide by jumping into a well. I reported Wang Lun to the government office. The county magistrate of Yang County, Qin Chuan, not only did not help me, he even gave me 20 beatings and said that I framed a good person. He said that my daughter fell into a well because she lost her footing." County Premier Chen glanced at Constable Zhao and asked, "Do you remember?" Constable Zhao put down his pen and said, "Yes." County Premier Chen looked at the middle-aged man and said, "After I investigate this case, I will give you justice." An old man walked up and said, "I want to report Wang Bo of the Wang family and the county magistrate of Yang County, Qin Chuan. The Wang family took over my second son's land, but the county magistrate gave my land to the Wang family." County Premier Chen nodded and said, "Next." "I want to report the wife of the county magistrate of Yang County, Qin Chuan. I want to report the daughter of the county magistrate of Yang County, Qin Chuan. I want to report the son of the county magistrate of Yang County, Qin Chuan. I want to report the arrestor of Yang County, Qiyu. I want to report the arrestor of Yang County, Wei Peng." In the front hall of the county government office, County Premier Chen asked questions while Constable Zhao recorded them. Li Mu stood in the inner hall and listened for a while before he walked out. The people of Yang County were none other than the father and son of the Wang family, the family of the county magistrate of Yang County, and the arresters who died. These people relied on the county magistrate of Yang County, Qin Chuan, to bully people and commit all kinds of crimes. They were involved in more than 10 cases of murder. The lives of the people of Yang County were no different from grass in their eyes. These people, without exception, all died in yesterday's incident. In the county government office of Yang County, those who were lucky enough to survive were ordinary runners. Bai Tingxin followed them out with a pale face and said, "You humans are too scary. I will never absorb human yang qi again." The grievances of the people of Yang County lasted until the afternoon. There were still many people lining up outside the county government office. After questioning one person, County Premier Chen closed the office and ordered the rest to come back the next day. Constable Zhao looked at the thick stack of case files and rubbed his aching wrists. He said, "Humans can be bullied, but not the heavens. Their deaths were retribution. Their deaths are not to be regretted." County Premier Chen asked, "Is there any news about the evil spirit?" County Magistrate Chen said, "Several people died in Yang County during the day. They were all evil tyrants and unruly people. The evil spirit's purpose seems to be very clear." He sighed and said, "She did what should be done by the imperial court." County Premier Chen shook his head and said, "The imperial court will soon know what happened in Yang County. Chen Chuan's wife is the sister of the assistant minister of the Ministry of Personnel. If it weren't for this person, Chen Chuan would have lost his position as county magistrate. He wouldn't have run amok in Yang County and caused such trouble. None of the people of Yang County, including Li Mu and the others, sympathized with the people who died. But the imperial court would definitely not tolerate the evil spirit's existence. Although the imperial court usually did not want to provoke a fifth realm cultivator, slaughtering the entire family of an imperial court official and massacring the government office had crossed the line. The higher-ups would not tolerate her. The evil spirit did not leave Yang County. She continued to kill people. Although the people she killed were all evil people, the North County government could not stand by and do nothing. County Premier Chen, who was also a fifth realm cultivator, left the county government office early the next morning to find the evil spirit. However, he was always one step behind her. If a fifth realm evil spirit deliberately hid her aura, it would be difficult for cultivators of the same realm to find her. Once the county magistrate of Yang County died, the county government office was taken over by the county government office. The people who had been bullied before no longer had any worries. In the past few days, there were many people who came to the government office to complain. Li Mu and the others were handling these matters at the government office. The crimes committed by County Magistrate Chen Chuan and the others were too numerous to be recorded. In the process of recording, Li Mu was so angry that he had a headache. He did not think that the evil spirit did anything wrong. Instead, he felt happy. These people deserved to die. The laws of the Great Zhou could not control them. If the imperial court did not punish them, the heavens would punish them. From a certain perspective, they did not die at the hands of the evil spirit, but died from the wrath of the heavens. The initial power of ghosts came from resentment. The stronger the resentment, the stronger the ghost would be after death. If their resentment was earth-shattering and resonated with the heavens, there was a very low probability that they would turn into a peerless evil spirit in a short period of time after death. That little beggar was kidnapped by young ruffian. She was a victim, but she was framed as a murderer. The injustice she suffered was comparable to Do Yi's. Before she died, she was filled with resentment. Coincidentally, she shouted that sentence that had the effect of a mantra, causing the heavens to change and turning into a peerless evil spirit. Li Mu was actually a little flustered. If he looked closely, this evil spirit was created by him. If the imperial court wanted to settle the score, he and the Yunyan Pavilion would not be able to escape. However, if he had the chance to choose again, Li Mu would probably still tell the story of Do Yi's death. If there was no Do Yi's injustice, if there was no rain in the county capital, and if there was no beggar hiding outside the Yunyan Pavilion, perhaps there would be one less evil spirit in this world, but there would be one more wronged soul. And those who should have gone to hell could continue to harm the world. In these few days, the evil spirit was still on the move. In other places of Yang County, there were more and more ghosts causing trouble. It was obvious that there was a mastermind behind the scenes who wanted to throw Yang County, and even the entire North County, into chaos. The imperial court's reaction to this matter was faster than Li Mu had expected. In just 5 days, an imperial envoy came from the Middle County to Yang County with a piece of news. Any cultivator of the Great Zhou dynasty who could slay this evil spirit would receive a heaven-level talisman or a heaven-level elixir. They could also choose an earth-level magic treasure. This kind of reward was enough to make countless cultivators in the North County and the surrounding counties go crazy. Stupid! In the Yang County Yamen, County Minister Chen looked coldly at a feminine man and said, Chu Jiang of Gozhouzian's ghost generals are also looking for that evil spirit. Is the imperial court trying to push this evil spirit to Chu Jiang of Gozhouzian? Chapter 165. The feminine man sneered and said, How dare a fifth realm brat call himself a king? No matter what the reason was, she killed an official of the imperial court and massacred the county office. She has violated the imperial court's bottom line and dignity. We must destroy her soul. County Minister Chen waved his sleeves and left. The two parted on bad terms. Constable Zhao walked forward and asked, Sir, what should we do now? County Minister Chen said, Organize the complaints of the people in Yang County and send them to the county office. Send people to suppress the evil spirits in Yang County and be careful of Chu Jiang of Gojoseon's subordinates. County Minister Shin walked forward and said, although she died unjustly, she did violate the imperial court's bottom line. If we can't bring her to justice, it will be North County's fault. It will be hard to explain to the imperial court. I'm worried about Chu Jiang of Gojoseon. County Premier Chen's expression was solemn as he said, King Chu Jiang definitely has some sort of objective for coming to the northern county. The longer he stays here, the greater his plans will be. Presently, he already has 16 soul realm ghosts under him. If he subdues even this fierce spirit, then his forces will definitely increase greatly. We have to be careful of him. County Minister Shin nodded and asked, I heard that they asked for help from the ancestral court of Fu Lu School. Did they reply? They were rejected. County Premier Chen snorted coldly and said, a fifth realm ferocious spirit can only be subdued by the peak masters. The talisman sect heard that this woman died because she was wronged. Before she died, she resonated with heaven and earth and turned into a ferocious spirit. She refused to help and they could not even enter the mountain gate. In the past few days, Li Mu's task in Yang County was to organize the files. He heard about the evil spirit every day. County Minister Chen had been chasing her but couldn't catch up. The imperial court also sent an imperial envoy to supervise North County's government and get rid of this evil spirit that violated the imperial court's bottom line. They also offered a large reward to attract cultivators from North County. A large portion of the cultivators sympathized with the evil spirit's encounter and were unwilling to help. However, the generous reward had indeed attracted a large number of people. However, they had joined hands to encircle and annihilate that fierce spirit many times, but they had not succeeded once. All the cultivators who surrounded the evil spirit were sucked dry of their magic power. Although their lives were preserved, their cultivation foundation was destroyed, and they could only become mortals in the future. It was said that the imperial court had once sent people to Mount Baiyun for help, but they were rejected by the ancestral court of Fu Lu School. Taoist cultivation focused on following the heavenly Tao. Naturally, they would not attack a vengeful spirit that was recognized by the heavenly Tao. If the Fu Lu School did not attack, no one in the North County could do anything to the evil spirit. As more and more villains died by her hands, in addition to absorbing the magic power of those cultivators, her strength also increased day by day. The imperial envoy had already sent someone to ask for reinforcements. Presumably, more powerful cultivators would arrive here soon. Bai Tingxin had been quiet for the past few days. She was on guard against everyone around her. She slipped into Li Mu's duty room and asked anxiously, "Do you think that evil spirit will come looking for me?" Li Mu raised his head and looked at her. He asked, "Why would she look for you?" Bai Tingxin said worriedly, "Didn't you say that she killed a lot of bad people in the past few days? I used to absorb people's yang qi. Will she come to kill me?" Li Mu finally knew the reason why she had been afraid for the past few days. He comforted her, "Don't worry, she won't come looking for you." Bai Tingxin was slightly relieved. She asked again, "Why?" Li Mu said, "The people she killed were all evil people who had committed many crimes. They deserved to die. Although you also made mistakes, your crimes do not deserve to die." Bai Tingxin was relieved. She asked curiously, "How does she know who are evil and who are good people?" Li Mu explained, "People who have killed people will have evil spirits, resentment, blood, and will definitely lack righteousness. Ghosts are the most sensitive to these. Naturally, they can distinguish. If you have these on you that night in the bamboo forest." Li Mu did not finish his sentence. Bai Tingxin asked, "What happened that night in the bamboo forest?" Li Mu put down the dossier and gave her a meaningful smile. He said, "What do you think?" If she was really an evil demon, Li Mu would have taken her life that day in the bamboo forest. Bai Tingxin understood Li Mu's answer. Her face turned pale, and she ran out quickly. Li Mu picked up the dossier again and sighed softly. If the little beggar had turned into an evil spirit and left Yang County after taking her revenge, she could have gone to Yudu or a place where no one could find her to cultivate. She could have continued to exist in another form. However, she had chosen this path. Even if she killed people who deserved to be killed, the imperial court would still erase her completely for the sake of dignity and face. Yang County on a remote mountain path. More than 10 cultivators surrounded a ball of black fog. That evil spirit is inside. Everyone, let's attack together. Let's kill this ghost together and split the rewards equally. These cultivators rushed forward and attacked the black fog with all kinds of Fu magical treasures, divine arts, and spells. The black fog endured these attacks, and its surface tumbled as if it was boiling. Just as everyone was about to launch a second round of attacks, the black fog suddenly spread out and enveloped them. The noisy mountain path quieted down in an instant. The black fog swallowed everything and tumbled violently. After a moment, it shrunk back. More than 10 people lay on the ground, unconscious. They had no magic power left in their bodies. Not far away, a monk's staff had just given off a golden light, which dissipated in an instant. 2 blood-red light spots appeared in the black fog, and then an emotionless voice said, "Do you want to kill me too?" "Amitba." The monk touched his bald head and said, "Miss, you've misunderstood. I just want to ask for directions. May I know how to get to Yang County Town?" No more sounds came from the black fog. It ignored the monk and went far away in an instant. What a heavy aura of resentment. The monk looked sad and murmured, "If this continues, I'm afraid she'll lose her mind and completely fall into the devil's path." He glanced at the direction where the black fog disappeared. He did not chase after it, and slowly walked down the mountain. 15 minutes after his figure disappeared, a black-robed figure suddenly appeared here. The black figure looked at the fainted cultivators on the ground and curled his lips. His body turned into a cloud of black fog and pounced on them. Yang County Town Office. Li Mu just learned that more than 10 cultivators had died in the hands of the evil spirit. This was the first time she killed the cultivators who surrounded her. Before this, she would only suck their magic power dry. "Look, this is the evil spirit you sympathize with?" The feminine man pointed at County Governor Chen and County Lieutenant Shen and scolded, "Don't think I don't know that when we surrounded the evil spirit, you were not willing to help at all. Now that 15 people are dead, are you satisfied?" County Governor Chen's face was gloomy. He said in a low voice, "The aura of resentment on her is too heavy. She has killed too many people. I'm afraid she has lost her mind." County Lieutenant Shen shook his head and sighed. "If that's the case, we must capture her as soon as possible." The feminine man snorted and said, "I'll give you 3 days. After 3 days, if you still can't capture the evil spirit, I'll report everything here to the imperial court, Amitba." Suddenly, a Buddhist chant was heard. A monk walked in from outside and said, "The deaths of the 15 people were not caused by this evil spirit." The feminine man looked at him and asked coldly, "Who are you?" County Lieutenant Shen walked forward and looked at the monk. He asked, "Master Xuandu, is there something else?" Xuandu saw Li Mu and nodded at him. He then explained, "I saw it with my own eyes. The evil spirit only sucked the 15 people's magic power and did not kill them. The culprit should be someone else." The feminine man frowned and said, "Why should I believe your one-sided story?" Xuandu said, "I can swear in the name of Buddha." "Don't give me that. I don't believe in Buddha. It's useless for you to swear in the name of Buddha." The feminine man looked at County Governor Chen and said, "I'll only give you 3 days. After 3 days, if the evil spirit is not captured, you have to think about how to explain it to the imperial court." Xuandu chanted the Buddhist chant again and said, "If revenge breeds revenge, will there ever be an end to it? That evil spirit is very powerful. If we can guide it." The feminine man waved his hand and said, "This is the imperial court's business. It's not up to a monk like you to interrupt." Xuandu looked at him and said, "Please don't interrupt me." The feminine man said coldly, "So what if I interrupt you?" Xuandu said, "I'm trying to reason with you." The feminine man said, "There's no reason for me to reason with you. What this penniless monk hates the most are unreasonable people." Xuandu shook his head and didn't look at the feminine man again. He walked to Li Mu and said, "Benefactor Li, please help me with the monk's staff." Then he looked at Bai Yinshin beside Li Mu and said, "Snake demon girl, please help me with the alms bowl." "Thank you." She did not know when County Governor Chen had entered the room. County Governor Chen looked up at the sky and seemed to be thinking about something. When Li Mu looked up, Xuandu had already disappeared in front of him. Then he heard the sound of fists hitting flesh and Xuandu's familiar scolding. "Damn it, I gave you face, but you don't want it. I'm telling you, I've been tolerating you for a long time. What's wrong with the imperial court? So what if the imperial court doesn't care about the lives of the people and can't distinguish between right and wrong?" Li Mu had already known Xuandu's character. When he was still willing to reason with him, it was better to reason with him. When he was no longer willing to reason with him, it would be useless no matter how much he begged him. He would choose to use his fists to tell him what the real reason was. At this time, County Governor Chen was nowhere to be seen and County Governor Chen was absent-minded. The constables who were standing in the yard also chose to leave. Bai Yinshin held the alms bowl and stared blankly at the scene in front of her with her eyes wide open. The alms bowl fell from her hand and hit her feet, but she didn't notice it at all. Chapter 166. In the blink of an eye, the feminine-looking man was lying on the ground, motionless. "Buddha is merciful." Xuandu wiped the bloodstains on his hands. His expression of compassion had returned to his face. He said in a low voice, "You can't be unreasonable." County Minister Qin, who had disappeared, appeared in the yard again. He bowed to Xuandu with one hand and said, "Master Xuandu, please." Xuandu took back the Buddhist staff from Li Mu's hand and picked up the alms bowl from the ground. He smiled at Li Mu and walked into the hall of the county office. The unconscious feminine-looking man was carried back by someone. Li Mu was about to return to the duty room when he heard a cry of pain. Green Snake held onto Li Mu's shoulder and lifted one of her legs. She was about to cry and said in pain, "My leg." Xian Du's alms bowl was a magic treasure. It was not light. An adult would have to use all his strength to barely carry it. The alms bowl had fallen and hit her foot. It seemed that she was not lightly hit. Li Mu saw her painful expression and cold sweat on her forehead. He asked, "Is it very painful?" Green Snake gritted her teeth and said, "Nonsense, I'll try hitting you." Li Mu shook his head indifferently and said, "Then you can feel the pain yourself." After that, he turned and walked to the duty room. Green Snake's face was full of hatred. She limped into the duty room after him. In the hall of the county office, County Minister Chen looked at Xuandu and said with a smile, "Master Xuandu, I haven't seen you for a long time. Your mana has improved a lot." Xuandu smiled and asked, "Who was that unreasonable person just now?" County Minister Chen said, "He was an imperial envoy from the imperial court. He was in charge of supervising the murder of the county magistrate of Yang County." Xuandu furrowed his brows and said, "Has the imperial court fallen so far that such a person who is unclear about good and evil, who cannot distinguish right from wrong, can become an imperial envoy?" County Magistrate Chen shook his head and said, "The officialdom is far more complicated than Master Xuandu can imagine. The wife of the county magistrate of Yang County is the sister of the assistant minister of the Ministry of Personnel. I'm afraid he's the one behind all this. I've already handed the people's petition to the county magistrate. The county magistrate will personally go to Zhong County to meet His Majesty." Xuandu put his palms together and said, "Those who win the hearts of the people win the world. I hope the imperial court can give justice to the girl and the people of Yang County. Grandmaster, please believe in the imperial court and His Majesty." County Governor Chen heaved a sigh of relief and said, "The most important thing now is to find that evil spirit. We can't let her continue to do whatever she wants. We have to find the culprit behind this and return peace to Yang County." After saying that, County Governor Chen suddenly said, "I wonder if Master Puji can help to convert this evil spirit." Xuandu said, "Uncle Master has been in seclusion since last month to meditate on freedom. I don't know when he will come out." County Governor Chen sighed and said, "Master Puji's dharma is profound. If he can help, he will definitely be able to eliminate the evil spirit's chi of Een and convert her. If the imperial court sends someone else, I'm afraid her soul will dissipate. In the duty room where Li Mu was, he put down his pen and rubbed between his eyebrows. His head was buzzing. Bai Tingxin's foot was hit by Xuandu's alms bowl. It seemed to be a little serious. She was in so much pain that she lay on the table and cried. Her crying annoyed Li Mu. She was a snake demon in human form. Even if her legs were broken, she would not be like this. The problem was that Xuandu's alms bowl was not an ordinary object. It had been blessed by the light of Buddha for many years. She was hit by the alms bowl. Even if she ran her mana to heal herself, it was useless. Li Mu had a headache because of her noise. He simply walked out of the duty room. Out of sight, out of mind. After a while, Li Si also walked out of the duty room. He glanced at him and asked, "Aren't you going to help her?" Li Mu was surprised and said, "Didn't you say that if I don't like a woman, I shouldn't be too nice to her and it's best not to provoke her? Besides, if I get too close to her, how can I explain it to Han Yan?" Different from when he was in Yangqiu County, Li Mu was now considered a man with a family. When he met other women outside, he had to be careful with his words and actions. He always thought of Lu Hanyan and remembered Li Si's teachings. Li Si rubbed between his eyebrows and said, "It's mainly because of her noise that I have a headache. Besides, if she continues crying like this and others see her, they will think that you did something to her. Do you think you can explain it like this?" Li Mu thought about it carefully and felt that Li Si's words made sense. If he let her continue crying like this, he was afraid that someone would really misunderstand. There were already people who misunderstood that he had hooked up with the White Demon King. In this way, the matter between him and the snake would be even more unclear. Therefore, Li Mu walked into the duty room and said to the sobbing Bai Tingxin, "Can you go somewhere else and cry? I can't read the file if you cry like this." Bai Tingxin raised her head and looked at him with tears in her eyes. She cried even louder. Li Mu covered his ears and gritted his teeth. "Fine, I'll take it that I'm scared of you." He squatted down and held Bai Tingxin's ankle. Feeling the intense pain from her foot, Bai Tingxin's tears rolled down her face. She scolded, "I'm already like this and you're still bullying me." "Li Mu, you're not human." After scolding, she felt a tingling sensation from her foot. It didn't seem to hurt as much. This feeling made her feel comfortable to the bone. She almost couldn't help but moan. After a few short breaths, her pain completely disappeared. The golden light on Li Mu's hand disappeared. He stood up and looked at Bai Tingxin faintly. "I'm human, you're not." The place where she was hit didn't hurt as much. Bai Tingxin stood up and jumped around in disbelief. She found that no matter how she moved, it didn't hurt. Of course, she couldn't feel the comfortable feeling that made her intoxicated. She rolled her eyes and fell back into the chair. She frowned and said, "Ouch, it hurts." A few black lines appeared on Li Mu's forehead. There must be something wrong with this snake's brain. Even if he used the Buddha's light to heal her bruises, it couldn't withstand her torment. She reaped what she sowed. Li Mu didn't plan to help her anymore. Just as he was about to sit back in his seat, he heard another ear-piercing cry. Li Mu reached out and covered her mouth. When Bai Tingxin's eyes widened, Li Mu's hand suddenly hurt. He quickly withdrew his hand. Bai Tingxin said fiercely, "I said, if you touch my mouth again, I'll bite you." Then she realized something and asked Li Mu, "Which hand did you use to touch my foot?" Li Mu raised the hand that was bitten by her. Bai Tingxin was stunned for a moment. She covered her mouth and ran out. She ran faster than when she wasn't injured. Li Mu immediately realized that she was faking it. Although the personalities of this pair of sisters were very different, they were the same in their love for freeloading. Arrestor Zhao walked in from outside. He looked back at Bai Tingxin, who was covering her mouth and running away. He looked at Li Mu in surprise. "It can't be." Li Mu asked, "It can't be what?" Arrestor Zhao was shocked. "Miss Tingxin is pregnant. Does the White Demon King know?" It wasn't easy for Li Mu to explain it to him. Arrestor Zhao was a little disappointed and said, "I thought you guys did it. If that's the case, the relationship between the county government and the White Demon King will be even closer." Maybe he'll help us this time. Li Mu didn't want to continue this topic. He asked, how's the situation in Yang County? It's not optimistic. Arrestor Zhao shook his head and said, the evil spirit is killing more and more people. Although the people she killed were all evil people, if this continues, the evil spirit on her body will become stronger and stronger. In the end, it might affect her mind. An evil spirit without a mind can't distinguish good from evil. It's a bigger threat to the North County than Chu Jiang of Gojoseon. His expression was serious as he continued. What's worse is that Chu Jiang of Gojoseon has noticed the crisis in Yang County. The deaths of more than 10 cultivators were done by Chu Jiang of Gojoseon's people. Their goal is to muddy the waters in Yang County and force the evil spirit to stand against the government. At that time, the evil spirit might really stand with Chu Jiang of Gojoseon and become more difficult to deal with. Li Mu thought for a while and asked, what will happen if the evil spirit falls into the hands of the imperial court? Arrestor Zhao said, even if she has been wronged, she has committed an unforgivable crime. The chief culprits like the county magistrate of Yang County are already dead. She can't escape the dissipation of her soul. He sighed and said, the evil spirit isn't something we can worry about. The county magistrate will deal with it. Those evil spirits under Chu Jiang of Gojoseon must be eradicated as soon as possible. We don't have enough people here. You and Miss Ting Xian will be in charge of a few villages in the east of Yang County. The situation in Yang County changed again and again in the past few days. Up until now, that ferocious spirit wasn't the most difficult to deal with. Even though she'd killed many people, and they were all treacherous villains that deserved to die, King Chu Jiang was different. Many cultivators had already died at their hands, and they'd shifted the blame to that ferocious spirit. While they were taking the opportunity to harvest the cultivators' souls, they also wanted to pull the evil spirit to their side. After Arrestor Zhao finished explaining Li Mu's task, Xuandu came in from outside. He bowed to Li Mu with one hand and said with a smile, Benefactor Li, long time no see. Li Mu said, Master Xuandu, long time no see. How is the abbot? Xuandu said, Benefactor Li saved my life. The abbot has completely recovered. He often misses Benefactor Li. It was not a good thing to be missed by Xuandu and the abbot of Jinshan Temple. Li Mu smiled and changed the topic. Master Xuandu, are you also here for the evil spirit? Xuandu said, I wanted to send the evil spirit back to Jinshan Temple and use Dharma to reform her. I didn't expect her cultivation to be so profound. I'm not her opponent. If I can trap her, I'm afraid I'll need Benefactor Li's help. Li Mu didn't answer immediately. Instead, he looked at Xuandu and said, I want Master Xuandu to promise me one thing. Xuandu said, What is it? Li Mu sighed and said, That girl suffered a lot when she was alive. Even when she became an evil spirit, she never hurt innocent people. I hope you can save her. Xuandu didn't hesitate for long. He put his palms together and said, Amitba. I promise you. Damn you, Li Mu. You touched my feet and my mouth. Du. Bai Tingxin walked in angrily and pointed at Li Mu. She was about to speak when she suddenly saw Xuandu standing beside Li Mu. Xian Du revealed a benevolent expression and smiled at her. Bai Tingxin screamed, turned around and ran out quickly. Chapter 167. Xuandu seemed to have left a huge psychological shadow on Bai Tingxin. When she came to the room for the second time, she poked her head out and looked around. When she saw that only Li Mu was there, she walked in with relief. That monk left. He left. Bai Tingxin patted her flat chest and said, That monk is too scary. I hate monks and their bowls. She moved a chair and sat in front of Li Mu. She stretched out her leg and said, My leg still hurts. Can you treat it for me again? Demons seem to enjoy the feeling of Buddha's light entering their bodies. Bai Yinxin was like this. Bai Tingxin was like this. Even Xiao Bai liked to snuggle in Li Mu's arms and let Li Mu use Buddha's light to expel the demon aura for her. Of course, after she transformed, she could no longer enjoy this treatment. I'm not your doctor. If it still hurts, you can use your mana to heal yourself. Li Mu rejected the green snake and said, I still have errands to run. You can play here by yourself. Chu Jiang of Gojosian's subordinates took advantage of this incident to wreak havoc in Yang County. Li Mu was responsible for the stability of several villages. Arrester Zhao originally wanted him and Bai Tingxin to be in charge together so that they could take care of each other. However, Li Mu had Bai in his hands. Unless Chu Jiang of Gojosian personally came, his ghost generals were not afraid at all. Bringing Bai Tingxin with him would be a burden. Seeing Li Mu leave alone, Bai Tingxin quickly chased after him and shouted, "Zhao said to let me go with you. Wait for me, Yang County, inner office." The feminine man woke up from his bed and felt that his bones were falling apart. He roared, "Where is that damned monk? Men, take him down." Two figures walked in and said, "Sir, you're awake." The feminine man looked at the two divinity realm cultivators and said angrily, "You're only back now. Where the hell did you go?" The two of them looked at each other and said, "Didn't my lord ask us to capture that evil spirit?" The feminine man struggled to get up and asked, "Did you catch that evil spirit?" A theurgy cultivator replied, "No, the two of us aren't her match." The feminine man gritted his teeth and said, "Trash, don't bother about that spirit. Go and capture that monk. He dared to murder an official of the imperial court. I want his head to roll." Another divine arts cultivator said, "We can't capture that monk. He's a disciple of Heart sect and has already cultivated a golden body. We can't beat him or capture him." The feminine man took a few deep breaths and calmed himself down. He said, "No matter what, we have to give Lord Assistant Minister an explanation for this matter. Investigate it for me. Investigate the birth of that evil spirit. Investigate it thoroughly." Yang County, a village in the east. A black fog escaped from the village, but it was cut down by a sword light that came from behind. Li Mu killed a vengeful spirit that was harming the common people with a single sword strike and collected the scattered soul force. In another direction, there was a black fog that was about to escape into the distance. Li Mu wanted to give chase, but Bai Tingxin's voice came from behind. "Don't move, let me do it." She quickly gave chase and shot out a green light. The green light entered the black fog, which churned for a while before gradually calming down. She extracted the soul force from the black fog and condensed it into a small ball. She ran to Li Mu and said, "For you." Li Mu said, "I can deal with it myself." Bai Tingxin stretched out her hand and said, "I don't care. I killed that ghost anyway." Li Mu took the soul ball and didn't waste time talking to her. His palm emitted a golden light and touched Bai Tingxin's hand. Bai Tingxin closed her eyes and revealed a satisfied expression. After a while, Li Mu retracted his hand. She opened her eyes and said with dissatisfaction, "How can you be so fast? The previous times were much longer than this time." Li Mu said, "This ghost's soul force is too weak. When you catch a powerful one next time, it will naturally take longer." Chu Jiang of Gojosian took advantage of the situation. In the past few days, many ghosts appeared in Yang County, causing chaos in all the villages. Li Mu and the others followed the orders of the county governor to get rid of these ghosts. Li Mu was still in the soul condensing stage. Although the soul power of these evil ghosts was not much, it was better than nothing. Many little drops make an ocean, so it was still somewhat useful. Bai Tingxin saw that Li Mu needed the soul force, so she offered to help Li Mu kill the ghosts and retrieve their souls. Of course, it was not for free. Every time she killed a ghost, she would contribute a portion of soul force to Li Mu. She would ask Li Mu to use the Buddha's light to make her feel comfortable. After careful consideration, Li Mu realized that this was a profitable deal. He only needed to pay a little bit of magic power to get a free long-term job. Why not? The cooperation between the two continued happily. Most of the time, Li Mu needed to stand by and watch. Bai Tingxin would help him kill the ghosts and retrieve their souls. She would condense the soul force and send it over. This was the first time Li Mu felt that it was not a bad thing to have this snake by his side. Unfortunately, these ghosts were too weak. If he could kill 1 or 2 soul realm ghosts, it should be enough for him to condense the remaining 2 souls. Li Mu suddenly thought of something and a bold idea emerged in his mind. He sent a message to Madame Chu, Do you know where the 18 ghost generals under Chu Jiang of Gojoseon are? The ghost generals under Chu Jiang of Gojoseon were not gathered in one place. Like the green-faced ghost and Madame Chu, they had their own nests. The current Li Mu, with the help of Madame Chu, could easily deal with these fourth realm ghosts. Since Chu Jiang of Gojoseon could send his subordinates out to do evil, Li Mu could also take the initiative to find them. Madame Chu said, "I don't know all of them. They are scattered all over the 13 counties in the North County. I only know a few of them." Although Li Mu did not want to be remembered by Chu Jiang of Gojoseon, he had already killed one of his ghost generals. Killing one or two was still killing. He might as well use them to help him condense his soul. After making up his mind, Li Mu stood up and said to Bai Tingxin, "You go back to the county office first. I'll go out and do something." Bai Tingxin said, "I'm not going. I want to go with you." Li Mu said, "Be good. Wait for me to go back. I'll let you feel comfortable for 2 hours. It's a deal." As soon as she finished speaking, Bai Tingxin disappeared in front of Li Mu at an incredible speed. Without her dragging him down, Li Mu did not have so many scruples. With a thought, Bai Yi flew out of the scabbard. Li Mu jumped on the sword and turned into a stream of light, quickly disappearing into the sky. In a valley in the north of Yang County. This valley was shrouded in smoke and miasma all year round. Very few people came close. It was rumored that there were man-eating evil spirits in this valley. Although no one had ever been eaten, the nearby people would take a detour when they came here. Even hunters and woodcutters would not come close to this place. Outside the valley, a figure suddenly descended from the sky. Li Mu felt the extremely dense yin qi in the valley and said, "You really know how to pick a place." Madame Chu revealed herself and said, "That red-haired ghost is here." She released her aura. After a while, thick fog rolled in the valley. A short man walked out of the thick fog. The man was short and only reached Li Mu's waist. He had conspicuous red hair. When he saw Madame Chu, he was shocked and said, "Madame Chu, you're not dead." He sized up Madame Chu and said in joy, "Not only are you not dead, but you've also advanced to the soul realm. Why are you looking for me? Have you thought it through and agreed to dual cultivate with me?" Madame Chu did not answer. What greeted the man was a sharp sword that shone with a cold light. The short man was shocked and said, "What are you doing? Are you crazy? Aren't you afraid of His Highness' punishment?" He hurriedly dodged and was slashed a few times by Madame Chu. His face was filled with anger and he said loudly, "Fine, if you want to play, I'll play with you." He stuck one hand into his chest and pulled out a huge mace from his body. Holding it with both hands, he waved it with the power of thunder. After the red-haired man had a weapon, Madame Chu could not gain the upper hand. Li Mu hid in the dark and watched. Although they were both at the fourth realm, Madame Chu had just advanced and her magic power was not as good as this red-haired ghost's. In the same realm, the difference in strength would be great. Those that Li Mu knew, such as Su He, Xuandu, and Commandery Officer Shin, were all at the peak of the fourth realm. The Tiger Demon and the Green Bull Demon were slightly weaker. Madame Chu, who had just advanced, would not be able to last long under their hands. According to Madame Chu, this crimson-haired ghost was a soul realm ghost cultivator, and he was ranked at the 14th position amongst the 18 ghost generals under King Chu Jiang. With Madame Chu's cultivation, it probably wouldn't be long before she lost. Li Mu walked out from behind the tree and formed a hand seal. Boom! A bolt of lightning descended from the sky and hit the red-haired ghost's head. All his hair stood on end. Although his soul was not directly destroyed, the aura on his body instantly withered. His originally solid soul body immediately became a little illusory. When Li Mu was in the soul-tempering realm, he could already kill third-realm demons with lightning techniques. Now that he was in the soul-condensing realm, although he could not kill fourth-realm demons instantly, this move could be used as a sneak attack. It could be used as a surprise attack and cause considerable damage to fourth-realm demons. Li Mu's sneak attack was successful. The red-haired ghost's body faded and his aura withered. Madame Chu instantly turned the situation around. The red-haired ghost was flustered and exasperated. He looked at Li Mu and said angrily to Madame Chu, "You actually colluded with humans. His Highness will not let you off." Boom! Another bolt of lightning struck his head. The red-haired ghost could not dodge in time and his body became even weaker. He was angry and shocked and hid back into the fog. Madame Chu did not waste the opportunity and chased after him with her sword. Li Mu felt waves of magic power coming from the fog. After a while, Madame Chu walked out of the fog with a solid soul ball floating in her palm. The 14th Ghost General under Chu Jiang of Gojoseon was dead. Madame Chu handed the soul ball to Li Mu and said, "The 12th Ghost General under Chu Jiang of Gojoseon is also in Yang County. Also, the Rakshasa Ghost and the Long-Tongued Ghost are in Yu County, which is adjacent to Yang County." Chapter 168. In the north of Yang County. A figure descended from the sky and landed on a cliff that was about 1,000 feet tall. A cloud of mist surged out of the Bai sword. Madame Chu appeared and said to Li Mu, "There's a ghost general under Chu Jiang of Gojoseon called the Big Head Ghost. He's ranked 12th among the 18 ghost generals. His strength is even stronger than the red-haired ghost. He lives in a cave under this cliff." Li Mu looked at the cliff below and said, "Go down and lure him up. I'll ambush him from above." Madame Chu nodded and flew down the cliff. She descended several dozen feet, and a pitch-black hole appeared on the cliff face. The hole was hidden under the weeds. If one didn't look carefully, it would be difficult to notice it. The inside of the hole was eerie. Madame Chu entered with her sword. Soon, a wave of magic power came from the hole. Not long after, Madame Chu escaped from the hole in a sorry state and floated up the cliff. A ghostly figure with a huge head chased out of the cave. This ghost's head was huge, and his body was only half the size of his head. His eyes were like lanterns, and there was a huge dustpan-like mouth on his face. Traces of black liquid flowed down from the corner of his mouth. He grinned his terrifying huge mouth and clicked his tongue. "It's actually Madame Chu. She's even advanced to the soul realm. If I can devour her, my strength will be able to enter the top 5 ghost generals and be put in an important position by His Highness." The big head ghost raised his head to take a look and quickly chased after them. However, just as he flew up the cliff, a purple lightning bolt descended from the sky and struck his head. Madame Chu disappeared. A young man holding the sword she was holding just now was looking at him with a smile. This was the last consciousness of the big head ghost. The purple lightning directly erased his intelligence and turned his body into soul power. Li Mu stretched out his hand. The soul power of the big head ghost turned into a soul ball and was absorbed into his body. Madame Chu's magic power was much weaker than Su He's at that time. When he was possessed by Su He, Li Mu's Thunder Dharma and various mystiques could rival those in the creation realm. However, by borrowing Madame Chu's dermic powers, Li Mu could only be invincible in the 4th realm. This was the most accurate assessment he had of his own strength after several battles. With the help of Dao techniques, he could unleash a shred of 5th-tier power. Killing a normal 4th-tier cultivator was not a problem. However, if he encountered a true 5th-tier cultivator, his power would still be insufficient. With this kind of strength, it was difficult to deal with Chu Jiang of Gojoseon, but it was easy to deal with the ghost generals under his command. According to Madame Chu, apart from the first ghost general under Chu Jiang of Gojoseon, the strongest of the other ghost generals was only at the peak of the 4th realm. Half a year ago, the first ghost general had just reached the specter realm under Chu Jiang of Gojoseon's nurturing. The middle 3 realms of ghost cultivators were the Baal Soul, Specter Soul, and Origin Soul. They corresponded to the Taoism's mystiques, Creation Realm, and Dongxian, and the Buddhism's Golden Body, Dharma Idol, and Freedom. Madame Chu, the red-haired ghost, and the big head ghost were Baal Souls. Su He was a Baal Soul that was very close to the Specter Soul. With Li Mu's current strength, it was nigh impossible for him to defeat a Specter Realm Phantom General. He collected his thoughts and looked at Madame Chu. Next, Madame Chu thought for a moment and said, 50 li from here, in Yu County, there's an abandoned old mansion. The Rakshasa ghost is there. He's ranked 9th among the 18 ghost generals. Feeling the surging soul power in his body, Li Mu's eyes burned with passion. He could condense all 3 souls if he killed another Baal soul. Let's go. Yu County. In an unknown village, a ferocious-looking man was kneeling on the ground. His body was trembling as he pleaded, "Grandpa Ghost, please spare my life. I won't dare to do it again. I won't dare to do it again." In front of him, there was a human-shaped black mist. One could only vaguely make out the silhouette of a human within the black mist. There were 2 blood-red rays where the eyes should be, and they seemed to be able to draw one's soul away. The villagers were kneeling on the ground. Even though their faces were pale, there was a hint of delight in their eyes when they looked at the ferocious-looking man. The ferocious-looking man who was kneeling on the ground had lost his usual ferocity. His body was trembling uncontrollably, and there was a pungent smell coming from beneath him. "You deserve to die." An inhuman voice sounded from the black mist. As soon as the voice sounded, 3 silhouettes floated out from the ferocious-looking man's body. They turned into specks of light that were absorbed by the black mist. After absorbing the specks of light, the blood-red rays at the top of the black mist seemed to become even more glaring. The black mist swept away, and the villagers were still kneeling on the ground. After another quarter of an hour, a brave man stood up and ran to the side of the ferocious-looking man to take a look. He shouted, "Dead, he's dead." When everyone heard this, they immediately became excited. "He's finally dead. We can live a good life in the future. The heavens have eyes. It's good that he's dead, it's good that he's dead." The last trace of fear they had for the ferocious spirit disappeared with the man's death. They all knelt on the ground and kowtowed in the direction that the black mist had disappeared. The black mist drifted all the way until it was blocked by a black-robed figure in a remote mountain. A voice quickly sounded from under the black robe. "I am the #1 ghost general under Chu Jiang of Gojoseon. Your Excellency has killed so many people. The Imperial Court will definitely send experts to eliminate you. No matter how high your Excellency's cultivation is, you won't be able to defeat the great Zhou Court. Why don't you pledge allegiance to His Highness Chu Jiang of Gojoseon? His Highness will guarantee your safety." Scram. Without waiting for him to finish speaking, a cold and emotionless voice came from the black mist. The black-robed man said, "Your Excellency, you have to think carefully." The aura in the black mist became extremely unstable. The black-robed man's expression changed, and he immediately moved out of the way. Looking at the black mist drifting away, the fear on his face gradually disappeared. How could such a thing happen? His face was filled with disbelief as he muttered, "It's only been a few days and she already has such a terrifying cultivation. If this continues, I'm afraid it won't be long before even His Highness won't be her match." In the forest, 2 more ghosts floated out. One of them said with a trembling voice, "This ghost's pressure is even more terrifying than what His Highness gave me." The black-robed man looked at him and said, "That's because she doesn't know how to cultivate. If this continues, I'm afraid her intelligence will be assimilated by the ferocious spirit and she will completely become a ferocious spirit that only knows how to kill. At that time, the northern county will be interesting." One of the ghosts laughed and said, "If that's the case, wouldn't it be even more beneficial for us?" The black-robed man stretched out his hands, and a soul ball condensed in each of his palms. He put the soul ball into the bodies of the 2 ghosts and said, "The green-faced ghost is dead, and Madame Chu is missing. There are only 16 of the 18 ghost generals left. This is the soul power of the cultivators I've collected over the past few days. The 2 of you are only a step away from the soul realm. When you go back, refine it well and try to advance to the soul realm as soon as possible." "Thank you, my lord." The 2 ghosts were so excited that their soul bodies trembled as they knelt on the ground to thank him. At this moment, another soul shadow rushed over from behind. Before it arrived, it shouted loudly, "My lord, bad news, bad news." The black-robed man said coldly, "What happened? Why are you in such a panic? Was the ferocious spirit captured?" No. The soul shadow said with a trembling voice, "The red-haired ghost, the big-headed ghost, and the Rakshasa ghost, they were killed." "What? The black-robed man's expression changed when he heard this. He grabbed the soul shadow's neck and said angrily, "What did you say? Say it again." The soul shadow said in fear, Their soul lamps were extinguished." Just as he finished speaking, black fog kept surging out from the black-robed man's body. That was a sign that he was extremely angry and his magic power was out of control. They had spent countless resources to create the 3 Soul Realm Ghost Generals. They had only created 15 Ghost Generals of this level in 5 years. The death of these 3 Ghost Generals was equivalent to their 1 year of hard work being in vain. How did that person know where they were? The black-robed man's voice was extremely cold and suppressed to the extreme. There must be a mole among us. Chapter 169. Yu County. In an ancient tomb somewhere in the mountains, a cloud of gray mist covered an area of dozens of feet. Li Mu formed a seal with his hands. Suddenly, a gust of wind blew and the gray mist gradually dissipated. A blood-red tongue suddenly flew out from the mist. It was extremely fast and created a gust of wind. It went straight for Li Mu's head. Clang! Li Mu slashed out. The Bai sword struck the tongue and produced a metallic sound. Sparks flew from the tongue and it suddenly retracted. The mist was completely blown away by the gust of wind, revealing a thin ghostly figure inside. Chu Jiang of Gojoseon's 18 ghostly generals. Apart from Madame Chu, 4 of them were in Yang County and Yu County. The red hair ghost and the big head ghost in Yang County had already been killed by Li Mu. A few hours ago, the Rakshasa ghost hiding in an abandoned house in Yu County had also been killed by the Bai sword. The last long-tongued ghost lived in this ancient tomb. It was not weak and was ranked 7th among the 18 ghostly generals. It had been resisting Li Mu for a long time. The thin ghostly figure was covered in black gas, only revealing 2 eyes. His eyes were glowing fiercely as he looked at Madame Chu and said angrily, "Damn it, Madame Chu, you actually betrayed His Highness. Have you ever thought about your end?" Madame Chu floated above and said coldly, "Worry about your fate first." After saying that, she urged Bai to meet the attack head-on. The long-tongued ghost used its tongue as a weapon. Its tongue was extremely flexible and could be hard or soft. It was actually on par with Madame Chu, who was wielding the Bai sword. This was even after Li Mu had exhausted most of its spiritual energy. After all, as the 7th ghostly general, its strength was much higher than Madame Chu's. Li Mu stood far away. Occasionally he would send down a bolt of lightning. Although the long-tongued ghost dodged most of the time, it was still flustered. Madame Chu seized the opportunity and gradually gained the upper hand. The long-tongued ghost tried to escape several times but was forced back by Li Mu's lightning technique. He was struck by Madame Chu's sword again. He couldn't help but feel anxious and angry. He asked, "Damn it! Do you dare to fight me for real without looking for help?" Madame Chu sneered, and the momentum of her sword became even sharper. The long-tongued ghost had already lost more than half of his mana, and was gradually losing ground to Madame Chu. After being stabbed a few more times, he was accidentally struck by a bolt of lightning, and his soul was already extremely illusory. Just as he was about to fall into despair, a monstrous killing intent suddenly came from the distant horizon, followed by an extremely angry voice. "You're courting death." Sensing this extremely familiar voice, the long-tongued ghost heaved a sigh of relief and exclaimed, "Lord Soul, save me." When Madame Chu felt this incomparably powerful aura, her expression changed drastically. Taking advantage of the moment when the long-tongued ghost relaxed, she pierced her sword through his chest and absorbed all of his soul energy. Then, she quickly flew to Li Mu's side and said anxiously, "Benefactor, leave quickly. He's the first ghost general under Chu Jiang of Gojoseon. He has already become a ghost spirit." A ghost spirit was equivalent to a cultivator in the creation and golden body realms. In terms of aura, he was slightly weaker than Master Puji of the Jinshan Temple. Li Mu held the Bai sword in one hand and formed a seal with the other. He said quietly, "Heaven and earth are limitless. Borrow the power of the universe. The power of the universe is born from the heart, and it grows endlessly. Heavenly Lord Tai, as the law commands. The Bai sword buzzed, and countless sword shadows appeared behind Li Mu's back. Tens of thousands of swords moved together and slashed towards the black shadow in the distance. The black shadow's body suddenly exploded, turning into countless black gas. After the sword shadows slashed past, the black gas gathered together again. The art of soul division. Li Mu's heart skipped a beat. According to honored Master Thousand Illusions memories, soul cultivators who mastered this secret magic would be able to split their soul body into smaller parts when their life was in danger. That way, they would be able to avoid large-scale attacks. Li Mu did not hesitate to flee on his sword. The demon-slaying protection spell was the strongest move he could use at the moment, but it could not do anything to the first ghost general. Other than running away, he had no other choice. Using the army formula, he was extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, he appeared 1,000 feet away and sped in a certain direction. You can't run away. After witnessing the death of the long-tongued ghost with his own eyes, and in just a few short months, only 12 of the 18 ghost generals remained, the black figure known as Lord Soul was enraged. He quickly chased in the direction Li Mu had fled in, his extremely cold voice echoing in the air. I will grind your bones and scatter your ashes, extract your soul, and refine it. I will make your soul suffer the pain of being burned by ghost fire every day. Li Mu heard the threat of the first ghost general behind him and fled even faster. He pulled away from the black shadow again. Although he could not defeat the other party, he could not easily catch up. After killing 4 of Chu Jiang of Gojoseon's ghost generals, the first ghost general was obviously furious. He chased and cursed. Those who did not know better would think that Li Mu had dug up his grave and scattered his ashes. Li Mu channeled his mana, and the distance between the two was pulled apart again. He looked behind him and shook his head. It's just 4 ghost generals who died. Is there a need to fight so hard? Madame Chu thought for a moment and said, Chu Jiang of Gojoseon seems to value the 18 ghost generals very much. For the past 5 years, he has always wanted to raise all of us above the soul realm and give us all the soul power he obtained, 18 soul realm. Li Mu thought for a moment and suddenly exclaimed, he can't be thinking of setting up the 18-in prison formation, right? Over the past few days, Li Mu had digested a lot of the memories left behind by Venerable Thousand Illusions. He also had some understanding of some demonic methods. The 18 Hell Grand Formation was an extremely formidable Devil Dao Grand Formation. It was set up by 18 ghost cultivators at the ferocious Soul Realm, and coupled with King Chu Jiang taking the lead, it was capable of trapping a 6th Realm expert at the Profound Insight Realm to death. The 18 ghost generals corresponded to the 18 Hells. Chu Jiang of Gojoseon had painstakingly cultivated the 18 ghost generals. If it wasn't because he had obsessive-compulsive disorder, then it was because he wanted to complete the 18-in prison formation. Of course, 5 of his 18 ghost generals had already died at the hands of Li Mu, and 1 had become Li Mu's ghost. There were only 12 of the 18 ghost generals left. At most, he could set up the 10 ghost trapping formation, and there would be 2 more substitutes. Without 8 ghost generals, the power of the formation would be reduced by more than half. It would only be left with less than 30%. No wonder this ghost general wanted to kill him. If it were Li Mu, he wouldn't be able to tolerate it either. There were ghosts chasing closely behind him, and he couldn't shake them off for a while. Li Mu changed direction and flew towards the mountains in the distance. As soon as he was chased by the first ghost general, he already had a plan in mind. The first ghost general's murderous aura was monstrous. Li Mu flew straight to a familiar mountain. Just as the ghost general was about to reach the mountain, a powerful demonic aura suddenly came from the mountain, followed by a cold snort. Scram! The ghost general's body quickly came to a halt as he stared at the mountain peak with a look of dread. In the north region, there was only one person who could have such a demonic aura. He floated in the air and clasped his fists. He said, "Greetings, White Demon King. I am the first ghost general under Chu Jiang of Gojoseon. I have no intention of disturbing you. This person killed 4 of my ghost generals. Please hand him over to me. An emotionless voice came from the mountain. If you don't scram in 3 breaths, you can stay here forever. Does the Demon King want to go against His Highness? 1. White Demon King, 2. Before the word 3 came out, the ghost swept up a black fog and flew away without looking back. Li Mu landed somewhere in the mountain and clasped his fists. He said to the middle-aged man in front of him, "Thank you for saving me, White Demon King." The White Demon King asked, "How did you offend Chu Jiang of Gojoseon?" Li Mu said, "Chu Jiang of Gojoseon ordered his subordinates to do evil in Yang County. I killed a few of his ghost generals." The White Demon King had a strange expression. He said, "Most of the ghost generals under Chu Jiang of Gojoseon are at the 4th realm. I didn't misjudge you to be able to kill them at the 2nd realm." Li Mu smiled embarrassedly. The White Demon King did not mention this matter again. He said, "Ting Xin has troubled you these days." "It's no trouble." In front of the White Demon King, Li Mu naturally could not despise his daughter. He said, "In the past few days, Miss Ting Xin has also helped the people get rid of evil and killed several evil ghosts. Ting Xin is stubborn. Little brother, you have suffered." The White Demon King looked into the distance and said, "That ghost hasn't left yet. I'll get 2nd brother and 3rd brother to escort you back." Bai Yinxin ran out from behind and said, "I want to go too." When he saw Bai Yinxin, Li Mu's legs went weak out of reflex. The White Demon King asked, "What are you going to do?" Bai Yinxin said, "I'm worried about Ting Xin outside. I want to protect her." In the end, the White Demon King agreed to let Bai Yinxin go with him. This made Li Mu feel a little guilty because the way the 2 sisters looked at him was the same. The current Bai Yinxin was already a core formation realm demon cultivator and was not weak. Under the White Demon King's instructions, she escorted Li Mu back to Yang County with the Green Bull Demon, the Tiger Demon, and the Rat Demon. Chapter 170. The Green Bull Demon and the Tiger Demon had already condensed their cores for many years. When the 2 of them joined forces, they could even suppress Su He. With Bai Yinxin and the Rat Demon, the 2 core condensation demons, the first ghost general did not appear again. Although he was a 5th realm ghost and might not be afraid of them joining forces, he was still afraid of the White Demon King. Bai Yinxin waited anxiously at the entrance of the county office. When she saw Bai Yinxin, she said in surprise, "Sister, why are you here?" Bai Yinxin snorted and asked, "Don't you want me to come?" Bai Yinxin quickly said, "No, no." The Green Bull Demon and the Tiger Demon followed Li Mu to the county office to escort him and bring the Rat Demon to admit his guilt. If other demons spread the plague in North County and cheated the people of their psyche power, they would not end well. However, County Magistrate Chen had to give face to the White Demon King. The Rat Demon stayed in the county office to make up for his mistakes, just like Bai Yinxin. Li Mu found Arrestor Zhao and asked, "How big is the credit for killing a ghost general in the Vicious Soul realm? Can I enter the Earth room to choose a treasure?" 4th realm Vicious Soul? Constable Zhao shook his head and said, "According to the rules, if you kill a 4th realm demonic ghost, you can choose a treasure from the Xian House. You were able to enter the Xian House the last 2 times because the county magistrate made an exception." Li Mu asked again, "If I can't kill one, what about 4? Arrestor Zhao was stunned and said, "Well, I have to ask the county magistrate." Not long after, he walked out of the front hall and said, "The county magistrate asked you to enter." Li Mu walked into the front hall of the county office and saluted, "Greetings, county magistrate." County Magistrate Shin held the gourd and drank a mouthful of wine. He said, "If you can kill one of King Chujiang's ghost generals in the Vicious Soul realm, then when we return to the county magistrate's office, I will make an exception and allow you to enter the Earth room to choose an item." Li Mu was delighted and asked, "If I can kill 4 of them, does that mean I can choose 4 treasures?" Commandery Captain Shin glanced at him and said, "I am a man of my word. If you can kill Chu Jiang of Gojoseon, I will give you the Earth room." It was more appropriate for the county governor to say that. As a county lieutenant, he did not have such authority. However, Li Mu had no intention of killing Chu Jiang of Gojoseon. He released Mrs. Chu and said, "Show me the evidence." Madame Chu waved her hand, and 4 images appeared in the air. Cultivators in the Jushen realm could replay what they had experienced as if they were taking a selfie. Cultivators in Dongxian were even more powerful with the dark light technique. They could cross space and observe the scene in another place in real time. Li Mu thought for a while and asked for their opinion. "Why don't you go together?" The 2 sisters each had an hour. They would still waste 2 hours. It was better to go together. This way he could save an hour. In terms of time management, Li Mu was very serious. After the 2 snakes discussed, they felt that there was no difference between who would go first and who would go later. They did not raise any objections. Li Mu wanted to just stay in the room. However, Bai Tingxin said that she wanted to go to the inn where she was staying. That way she could lie down. Lying down was obviously more comfortable than sitting. Li Mu did not want to go through so much trouble. However, on second thought, there were too many people in the county. There might be people talking behind his back. It was better to go outside. He nodded and said, "Then let's go to your place." Seeing the 3 of them walk out of the county office, a county yamen constable poked his head out of the room and said, "Tisk, it's good to be young." Another constable added, "It's useless to be young. You also need to be handsome." Another constable said, "It's not enough to be young and handsome. Women these days still like men with strength. Young, handsome, and strong. Highly regarded by the county governor. Not everyone is Li Mu. So, Li Mu has already taken the 2 daughters of the White Demon King? Isn't it obvious? Yang County. On the street, Li Si put his arm around Zhang Shan's shoulder and asked, "Why are you here?" Zhang Shan said, "It's because Lady Lu is worried about Li Mu. She left for so many days without any news. I came to take a look. What can happen to Li Mu? I'll take you to the county office to find him." Li Si had just opened his mouth when he suddenly realized something. He pointed ahead and said, "There's no need to go to the county office." "Isn't that him?" Zhang Shan raised his hand and waved at Li Mu. Seeing him enter the inn with 2 young women, he was stunned for a moment and said in disbelief, "Li Mu actually brought other women to the inn. And there are 2 of them." An hour later, Li Mu came out of the room on the 2nd floor of the inn. When he walked down the stairs, his legs went weak and he almost fell down. Fortunately, a pair of hands reached out from the side and caught him in time. Li Mu turned his head and was about to thank him. When he saw the person, he was stunned and asked, "Why are you here?" Zhang Shan shook his head and said, "Li Mu, you disappoint me. Do you know how worried Lady Lu is about you? You actually brought women to a place like this?" Li Mu explained, "You're mistaken. They're not human." Zhang Shan said, "I saw it with my own eyes. You don't have to lie to me. Although I work for Lady Lu, we're brothers. I'll help you hide it this time, but there won't be a next time," Li Mu said helplessly. "It's not what you think." Zhang Shan sighed and said, "Do you think I'm easy to fool? Or did you just sit in the room with those 2 women for an hour and drink tea and chat?" In fact, Li Mu really only sat there for an hour. He didn't even drink tea. He didn't want to waste time explaining and shook his head. "Go back and tell them that the matter in Yang County will take some time. When it's settled, I'll go back." In a first-class room on the 2nd floor of the inn, Bai Yinxin and her sister showed a satisfied expression at the same time. Bai Tingxin moaned comfortably and said, "Sister, I feel that my cultivation has improved a little. Why don't we capture him and bring him back to help us improve our cultivation every day?" Bai Yinxin glanced at her and said, "Stop dreaming. Father won't let you do that. Is there any way to do this every day?" Bai Tingxin held her chin with one hand and suddenly said, "Why don't I just marry him? If I marry him, we can be together every day." Bai Yinxin glanced at her. She used to have such naive thoughts like her sister. Today, she already knew that marriage wasn't something that could be casually said. Every time she thought of the situation at that time, she wanted to find a hole to hide in. In the past few months, she missed the experience of that time. She missed the house in the water and even thought of Li Mu more often. She looked at Bai Tingxin and said, If you marry him, you won't just do this every day. You'll have to wash his clothes and cook for him. You'll also have to sleep with him and give birth to his children. So it's so troublesome to get married. Then I'd better not get married. Bai Tingxin suddenly changed her mind and said, "Forget it. Even if I want to marry him, he won't like me. He already has a woman he likes." Bai Yinxin was stunned and asked, "What? He has a woman he likes?" Bai Tingxin was surprised and said, "Why are you making such a fuss?" For some reason, Bai Yinxin suddenly had a sour feeling in her heart and asked, "What does the woman he likes look like?" Bai Tingxin's face showed jealousy and said, "She's very beautiful. She has big breasts and a perky butt. Why do men like women like that? It'll be great if I'm a fox. Fox spirits have great figures. I can charm him to death." Chapter 171. After Chu Jiang of Gozhouzian lost another 4 ghost generals, the situation finally calmed down. The evil spirits no longer harmed the people in and around Yang County. The evil spirit also left Yang County and began to appear frequently in Yu County. In just 2 days, it took the lives of a few more villains. After Li Mu sent Zhang Shan out of Yang County, he received another piece of news when he returned to the county office. The experts sent by the imperial court had arrived in the North County. It was said that they were in the creation realm. They were already on their way to Yu County to hunt down the evil spirit. Constable Zhao was about to leave the office when he said, "The experts sent by the imperial court have already gone to Yu County. We're about to head there with the county minister. Do you want to come along? It's rare to see a battle of this level. It's a good opportunity to broaden your horizons." Li Mu nodded and walked out of the county office with him. They boarded the flying boat and headed straight to Yu County. Yu County and Yang County were neighbors. After about half an hour, the flying boat stopped in the air. County Minister Chen stood at the bow of the boat and looked into the distance. Li Mu sensed a strong wave of mana coming from the wilderness in the distance. There were 2 auras, both of which were extremely powerful. One of them had a murderous aura that sent chills down one's spine even though it was so far away. The other aura did not lose out at all in terms of aura. The flying boat landed in the distance. Li Mu saw a man in green floating in the air. Opposite him was a ball of black fog that emitted a terrifying aura. Above the man in green's head, a long sword was shining with green light. It danced in the air and slashed at the black fog. Li Mu could feel the sharpness of the sword aura even from afar. When the sword aura slashed at the black fog, a part of the black fog dissipated. However, the aura within it became more and more violent. County Minister Chen's expression changed slightly. He said, "If this continues, I'm afraid she will completely lose her consciousness. There's no other way but to kill her." Li Mu looked at the black fog and sighed. 10 days ago, she was still a young girl in the prime of her youth, but now she had become like this. The death of the county magistrate of Yang County and his evil officials was not enough to be regretted. A portion of the black fog dissipated, and it seemed to have aroused the anger of the evil spirit as it swept towards the azure-clothed man. The green-clothed man formed a seal with one hand and pointed at the black fog. He said softly, "Freeze." The surrounding time seemed to have stopped, and the black fog suddenly stopped in midair. The green-robed man raised his hand and pressed forward. In the void, a huge transparent palm was formed and slammed towards the black fog. The black fog collapsed, but it condensed back together in the blink of an eye. However, its aura was weaker than before. Commandery Captain Shen shook his head and said, "Although her mana is strong, she doesn't know anything about ghosts. Otherwise, she wouldn't have been defeated so easily." County Minister Chen looked worried and said, "The resentment in her body is getting stronger. The stronger the resentment, the stronger her strength will be. If she continues to be pressured like this, something might happen." A golden light flashed in Li Mu's eyes. When he looked at the black fog again, he realized that the color of blood was even stronger. At this moment, the azure-robed man formed a seal. The azure-robed man's flying sword shined brightly and condensed into a huge azure-robed sword in the air. He waved his hand and the huge sword slashed down at the black fog with lightning speed. There was no change in the black fog, but a cloud of thick black gas suddenly appeared under the ground. The black gas condensed into a huge knife and met the green light sword shadow. When the knife and the sword met, they were instantly annihilated. A strong blast of air spread out from the center of the collision. The clothes of the people in the distance were fluttering because of the blast of air. Li Mu looked at the black-robed man who appeared beside the evil spirit and quietly retreated behind County Minister Chen and Commandery Captain Shen. The first ghost general did not notice Li Mu. Instead, he looked at the evil spirit and said, "See, this is the face of the imperial court. They don't care how much injustice you have suffered. They watched helplessly as the corrupt official harmed you. If you kill the corrupt official for revenge, they will destroy your soul. Instead of dying in their hands, why not join us and fight against this hypocritical and unfair world?" Commandery Captain Shen looked at the black-robed man and slowly walked out. His eyes were full of killing intent. In the next moment he suddenly stopped in his tracks. At the same time, everyone present felt that the surrounding temperature seemed to have dropped. Rumble. They looked up and saw that there were dark clouds gathering quickly in the sky. Lightning flashed and there seemed to be countless thunderbolts brewing in the dark clouds. Heavy snow fell from the sky, bringing with it a bone-piercing chill. County Minister Chen and the azure-clothed man's faces suddenly became extremely serious. Boom! A huge purple thunderbolt suddenly fell from the sky and struck the azure-clothed man directly. The thunderbolt was extremely fast. The azure-clothed man hurriedly recalled his flying sword to block it. The flying sword dimmed under the purple thunderbolt. The azure-clothed man fell rapidly. When he landed on the ground, a trace of blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. The first ghost general was stunned for a moment and said with joy, "That's it." County Minister Chen was shocked and murmured, "Taoist techniques?" In the black fog, a red light emerged and an inhuman voice was heard, "All of you must die." County Minister Chen looked regretful and said, "She has completely lost her consciousness." After the strange phenomenon occurred, the evil spirit's aura was rising rapidly. The azure-clothed man looked at County Minister Chen and said angrily, "What are you waiting for?" County Minister Chen appeared beside him and said, "If you did not trigger her resentment, how could this happen?" The azure-clothed man said coldly, "It's useless to say this now. She has lost her humanity. If we don't get rid of her today, there will be endless trouble in the future. Let's work together and get rid of her as soon as possible." The ghost general sneered and said, "You can try." In the blink of an eye, 2 more thunderbolts fell from the dark clouds. A bronze bell flew out from the azure-clothed man's sleeve and covered his head. The thunderbolts fell on the bronze bell and only made a bell sound before they disappeared. An ancient shield appeared in County Minister Chen's hand. He threw the ancient shield out and the shield expanded rapidly. The thunderbolts fell on the shield and disappeared without a sound. The dark clouds covered a large area, and several bolts of lightning struck towards the heads of Li Mu and the others. The thunderbolts were white and were not as powerful as the ones that attacked the azure-clothed man and County Minister Chen. County Lieutenant Shen made a gesture and a translucent light shield appeared. The white thunderbolts hit the light shield and were absorbed by the light shield. Li Mu looked up at the thunderbolts outside the light shield and a mysterious feeling arose in his heart. It was as if the thunderbolts would disappear with just a thought. So he really thought so. A few thunderbolts disappeared suddenly before they hit the light shield as if they had never appeared. Arrestor Zhao was puzzled. He scratched his head and asked, "Why did they disappear?" County Lieutenant Shen, who was trying his best to maintain the light shield, suddenly turned around and looked at Li Mu with surprise and astonishment. Li Mu looked at the dark clouds in the sky and the mysterious feeling rose again. It was as if the dark clouds in the sky would disappear completely with just a thought. Li Mu looked at the ghost general who was fighting with County Minister Chen and a thought came to his mind. A thick purple thunderbolt suddenly fell and struck the ghost general's head. The ghost general's body broke into pieces and then reformed. He dodged the thunderbolt that was enough to seriously injure him. He looked back at the black fog and shouted angrily, "What are you doing?" The black fog surged. In the fog, Two blood-red eyes suddenly looked in the direction of Li Mu. The moment it saw Li Mu, the black fog began to churn violently as if it was boiling. In the next moment, the dark clouds in the sky dissipated and the black fog actually disappeared into the distance in an instant. This was beyond everyone's expectations. The ghost general saw this and was stunned for a moment before he fled without hesitation. The evil spirit escaped, and he was the only one left. He was no match for the two creation realm cultivators. County Minister Chen and the man in green did not chase after him. They stood where they were and looked a little surprised. After a while, County Minister Chen shook his head and said, "The evil spirit is too strong and has the help of the ghost general. We can't subdue her with just the two of us. Let's go back to the county office and discuss further." Li Mu had just returned to the county office when Arrestor Zhao came in and said, "His Excellency is looking for you." Li Mu knew that what happened just now had attracted County Lieutenant Shen's attention. Although he did not want others to know that he was the cause of the evil spirit's appearance, he also knew that the reason why the Yamen had not investigated this matter was because the matter of the evil spirit had not been solved. When the matter in County Yang was settled, they would definitely investigate the Yunyan Pavilion. At that time, if Li Mu did not take the initiative to come forward, Lu Hanyan would have to bear all the responsibility. Arrestor Zhao brought Li Mu over and left. Li Mu walked into the front hall and found that County Lieutenant Shen and County Minister Chen were both there. County Lieutenant Shen looked at him and said, "Sit down." Li Mu found a chair and sat down. He knew County Minister Chen and County Lieutenant Shen well. Instead of waiting for the imperial court to find out, it was better to be honest with them. County Lieutenant Shen asked directly, "What happened just now?" Li Mu said directly, "It was me." County Minister Chen was shocked and said, "How could you control the Taoist magic arts of the evil spirit? Unless it was you who created this Taoist magic arts," Li Mu explained in detail, "I was the one who told the story of Do Yi's injustice in the tea house. At that time, I also didn't know that that line of the play would trigger a vision of heaven and earth and create this kind of Taoist technique." Sure enough. County Lieutenant Shen's face showed that he understood and said, "Although you didn't create this Taoist magic arts, this Taoist magic arts were created because of you. That evil spirit was also born because of you." Li Mu asked, "Will the imperial court hold me accountable for this?" County Minister Chen thought for a while and said, "The county governor has already gone to the capital to meet the emperor, but there is no result yet. Although this happened because of you, it is not your fault. If the imperial court holds you accountable, the county government will do its best to protect you. I have a perfect plan." At this moment, a voice suddenly came from outside. Xuandu walked in from outside and looked at Li Mu. He said, "If Benefactor Li becomes a monk in the Jinshan temple, you will be a disciple of Buddhism. Although the evil spirit was born because of you, it is not your fault. If the imperial court holds you accountable, we Buddhists can take care of it." Chapter 172. County Commandant Shen thought for a while and said, "That's a good idea. Li Mu, you can think about it. Even if the county government can't protect you, the Heart Sect can. After you escape this disaster, you can return to the secular world and it won't affect your marriage." Xuandu looked at County Commandant Shen but did not say anything in the end. County Minister Chen shook his head and said to Li Mu, "You don't have to worry too much. In recent days, the matter of the evil spirit has spread to all the counties. The people know who is right and who is wrong. The most important thing now is to convert the evil spirit. If her spiritual intelligence is completely eroded by the evil spirit, for the safety of the people in North County, we have to get rid of her. She can still be saved now," County Commandant Shen reminded him. "The stronger her resentment, the stronger she will be. If we push her too hard, it will be counterproductive." County Commandant Shen thought for a while and looked at Li Mu. He said, "Whoever started the trouble should untie it. That evil spirit was born because of Li Mu. I'm afraid only you can convert her." Li Mu nodded and said, "I'll try. There's no time to lose. We have to settle this before the imperial court sends more experts." If this continues, we won't be able to deal with it. County Commandant Chen said again. Xuandu stepped forward and said, I'm willing to go with Benefactor Li to find the evil spirit. County Commandant Chen and County Commandant Shen had reached an agreement with Li Mu and Xuandu about the evil spirit. County Commandant Chen stayed in the county government and delayed the creation realm expert from the imperial court. Li Mu, Xuandu, and County Commandant Shen left the county government to find the evil spirit. The three of them stood on the flying boat. County Commandant Shen sighed and said, dozens of years ago, someone died with great resentment and turned into an evil spirit. Her strength was comparable to that of the sixth realm, Dongxian. However, after she took revenge, she did not stop. Instead, she brought disaster to the world. Thousands of innocent people died in her hands. That time, even the mighty Transcendence Realm expert was alarmed and killed her personally. This poor monk has also heard of this matter. Xuandu said, with the resentment of a mortal, they would at most turn into an evil spirit after death. That woman was wrongly killed by the authorities and turned into a malicious spirit. In reality, she was controlled by the demon sect, which is why she has such a terrifying cultivation level. This time, it's completely different. A mortal pointed at the sky and cursed before she died, and she was actually recognized by the heavens and earth. She has a 5th level cultivation level. Those who do good suffer poverty and have a shorter life, while those who do evil enjoy wealth and have a longer life. Bullying the weak and fearing the strong, unable to distinguish good from bad, misjudging the wise and the foolish. Xuandu looked at Li Mu and praised, pointing at the sky and cursing the earth. In today's world, only Benefactor Li has such courage. Li Mu said awkwardly, Master, you flatter me. He wasn't that noble, nor was he that angry. At that time, he just wanted to help the Yunyan Pavilion attract more business. He didn't expect that just a few words would cause such a serious consequence and bring him a lot of trouble. County Captain Shun said regretfully, I thought that the incident decades ago would teach them a lesson. I didn't expect the same thing to happen decades later in the North County. Amitba. Xuandu shook his head and said, the people of this world are ignorant. They repeat the same mistake over and over again. This poor monk has saved countless people, ghosts, and demons over the years, and I finally realized that it's easier to save demons and ghosts than it is to save people. After leaving the county, County Captain Shen took out a compass. The needle on the compass spun quickly and finally pointed in a direction. Soul Realm ghost cultivators were able to conceal their auras and avoid the detection of talismans and magic treasures. However, the resentment of the ferocious spirit surged into the sky and it had killed many people, so it was surrounded by blood qi and baleful qi. Even if it was a few tens of kilometers away, it could still be easily noticed. The flying boat flew forward for a few miles and finally landed on a barren mountain. This was obviously a mass grave. There were protruding tombs everywhere. Some tombs had wooden tablets in front of them, but most of them were just lonely mounds. In front of one of the mounds, there was a cloud of black fog. The fog was tumbling and countless human faces appeared on the surface. These people looked ferocious and were roaring silently at Li Mu and the other two. Amitba. Xuandu said mercifully, Lady, there is no end to the sea of bitterness. Turn back and you will be saved. A painful voice came from the black fog. I can't turn back anymore. After this voice came out, the tone changed. 2 red lights shot out from the black fog and said coldly, Die, all of you will die. County Captain Shin shook his head and said, the murderous aura has already corroded her mind. She will soon become an evil spirit that only knows how to kill. Xuandu put down his Buddhist staff and said, if you want to save her, you have to get rid of the murderous aura outside her body. Seeing the black fog coming towards them, Li Mu took a step forward. The black fog suddenly stopped in midair. A painful voice came from the black fog again. No, I can't hurt Benefactor. But Xuandu suddenly said. His body emitted a golden light. County Captain Shen threw out a few flags. These flags were inserted deep into the ground. Chapter 173. The Man in Blue and County Minister Chen left the government office. 2 hours later, they came back. County Minister Chen walked into the government office and said regretfully, "There is no trace of her in the 13 counties in the North County. She either left the North County or was killed by a strong cultivator passing by. What a pity. She is also a pitiful person." The Man in Blue said with disdain, "This is the dirty business of the North County. Why are you sighing? If you are strict, how could such a tragedy happen?" County Minister Chen asked, "Fellow cultivator, you have lived in the Central County for a long time. Don't you know that there are some things that we can't do anything about?" The Man in Blue sneered and said, "You can't do anything before, but you can deceive people afterwards." County Minister Chen was puzzled and asked, "Fellow cultivator, what do you mean?" "These things have nothing to do with me. As long as the evil spirit doesn't cause trouble, my mission is completed." The Man in Blue didn't continue the topic and said, "I was ordered by the imperial court to kill this evil spirit. Now that the evil spirit has been suppressed, I have to return to the Central County. See you later." He saluted County Minister Chen with his fists and flew up into the sky. County Minister Chen walked out and asked, "Did he see through it?" "Who knows?" County Minister Chen smiled and said, "Some things are hard to be confused about." Hurried footsteps came from the back of the government office. The feminine man ran out and asked anxiously, "Where is he?" County Minister Chen looked at the man with the bruises on his face and said, "He left. The case hasn't been solved yet. How can he leave first?" The feminine man revealed an angry expression and said, "I've already found out that the evil spirit appeared in the Northern County because of a tea house called the Yunyan Pavilion. I order the Northern County to arrest everyone involved in the Yunyan Pavilion and wait for their punishment." County Minister Chen looked at him and asked, "What happened to the tea house?" The feminine man said coldly, "The tea house told a story." "Is it a crime to tell a story? A normal story is naturally innocent, but that story created a peerless evil spirit, causing the county magistrate's family to be annihilated, causing so many innocent people to suffer. Have you ever thought about the purpose of the tea house telling the story? Who is behind it? What is their motive? Who is the story mocking? What are they trying to subvert, destroy, and insinuate?" The feminine man's face was gloomy as he said, "Those who do good suffer poverty and have a shorter life, while those who do evil enjoy riches and have a longer life. What kind of audacious person is this? How dare he speak such arrogant words? How dare he talk about politics and criticize the imperial court? If we don't kill him, we won't be able to establish our prestige." In Li Mu's view, this old man clearly did not have any cultivation, but Li Mu felt a familiar aura from his body. It was the aura of psychokinesis. Li Mu carefully sensed that around the old man's body, he sensed a thick psychokinesis that was almost condensed into a solid substance. After the old man walked into the duty room, Bai Xin and her sister frowned. They only felt uncomfortable all over and quickly walked out. County Lieutenant Chen walked forward and looked at the old man. He said to Li Mu, "This is Imperial Censor Qi. He is here on Her Majesty's orders to solve the matter of the evil spirits in the North County." Li Mu stood up and cupped his hands. "Greetings, Imperial Censor Qi." Imperial Censor Qi looked at Li Mu and said, "I didn't expect that the person who could say such an earth-shattering thing would be such a young man. It really makes me feel ashamed." This imperial censor from the Middle County did not seem to have any intention of pursuing the matter. Li Mu was slightly relieved. Imperial Censor Qi did not say much to Li Mu. He only asked him to make a copy of the original story of Do Yi's Injustice. After Li Mu finished copying, he handed it to County Lieutenant Chen and asked, "There's nothing more to do in the Yang County. Can I return to the capital?" County Lieutenant Chen nodded and said, "There's nothing else for you to do here. You can go back first." Because of Miss Xiaoyu's matter, Li Mu had been feeling very depressed these days. The dead could not be brought back to life. The current ending was already considered the best. Her Majesty's imperial edict had concluded this matter. She was brought back to the Jinshan Temple by Xuandu to be redeemed. The county magistrate of the Yang County and the others would forever be nailed to the pillar of shame in history. Li Mu guided Xiaoyu back and killed the 4 ghost generals under Chu Jiang of Gojoseon. He obtained enough soul power to completely condense the 3 souls and enter the spirit concentration realm in half a month. For him, the condensing of the 3 souls did not require much effort to collect emotions. It was far less complicated than the refining of the 7 souls. The time it took was also far less than refining the soul. He went back to the duty room to pack his things. Bai Tingxin leaned against the door and asked, "Are you leaving?" Bai Tingxin was punished by the White Demon King because she used to absorb the yang qi of others. Now that her sentence was over, she could return to the mountain. Li Mu carried his bag and waved to her. "See you again if fate wills it." Bai Tingxin immediately ran in and said, "Since you're leaving, why don't you?" Li Mu thought for a while and said, "This is the last time." Bai Tingxin beamed with joy and said, "Wait, I'll go get my sister." The White Demon King had done Li Mu a favor. This was the last time to repay the favor. Li Mu did not want to stay a moment longer after using up a portion of his mana to fulfill Bai Tingxin's wish. After leaving the county, he flew on his sword and went straight to the county. In the duty room, Bai Tingxin waved her hand in front of Bai Yinxin and asked, "Sister, what's wrong?" Bai Yinxin stood up and said, "Nothing, let's go back." Bai Tingxin held her hand and walked out of the county office. She said, "Cultivating in the mountain is so boring. Let's come out and play with Li Mu in a few days." The two walked out of the county office. Soon, the feminine man also walked out of the door and said, "Back to Zhong County." A magic cultivator behind him said, "If we go back like this, I'm afraid it'll be hard to explain to the assistant minister." The effeminate man pursed his lips and said, "His Majesty sent the censor here. What can I do? The assistant minister can't blame us. It's his brother-in-law's fault for stirring up public resentment, deep in a desolate mountain in the North County." A black-robed man knelt at the entrance of a cave filled with ghastly qi. After a long time, a fleeting voice came from the cave. "What's the matter?" The black-robed man buried his head deeper and said, "Your Highness, I didn't do my job well. I didn't succeed in recruiting that evil spirit." The cave was silent for a while before a voice came out. "That evil spirit wasn't part of the plan. It's better to have her, but it's okay to not have her. As long as the 18 ghost generals can be gathered." The black-robed man trembled and said, "Something happened to the 18 ghost generals." The voice in the cave suddenly sank. "Other than the green-faced ghost and Madame Chu, what else happened?" The black-robed man's voice trembled. Red-haired ghost, big-head ghost, Rakshasa ghost, and long-tongued ghost were killed by a human cultivator. The cave was silent for a long time before a voice said, "That means only 12 of my 18 ghost generals are left. Do you know why I planned for 5 years?" The black-robed man knelt on the ground and quickly said, "Your Highness, don't worry. I'll gather the 18 ghost generals as soon as possible. Please give me half a year, there's no time." A sigh came from the cave and suddenly asked, "How long have you been with me?" The black-robed man immediately said, 5 years. The voice in the cave said, 5 years, I really can't bear to." The black-robed man was stunned and his expression changed. He turned into a ball of black mist and fled without hesitation. However, the next moment, a terrifying suction force came from the cave and sucked the black mist in. In the depths of the cave, 2 balls of light flashed and sighed. "With your soul power, it should be enough to gather the 18 ghost generals." Chapter 175. That's enough. Only Xiaobai could use this kind of elixir. Li Mu glanced at the many porcelain bottles on the shelf and asked, "Does the county government have any elixirs that can help ghosts condense their bodies?" County Magistrate Shen looked at him thoughtfully. After a while, he asked, "You even have ghosts in your house?" Li Mu said, "I'm just asking, County Magistrate Shin's eyes seemed to have a deeper meaning. He said, "Ghosts don't need elixirs to condense their bodies. Third realm evil spirits can condense their bodies by themselves. Ghost cultivators in the soul realm can condense their bodies no different from ordinary people. It's said that ghosts in the ninth realm can reverse life and death and reconstruct their bodies. However, I've only heard of it. I've never seen it, then forget it." Li Mu originally thought that if there really was such an elixir, he could save one for Su He. Since there was no such elixir, he didn't want to waste this opportunity to choose. Fu Lu, Dharma treasure, and elixir, he chose one of each. Last chance, Li Mu chose high-quality spiritual jades. The Fu Lu and Dharma treasure were his, the demon transformation elixir was for Xiao Bai, and the spiritual jades were for Lu Hanyan and Wanwan. Everyone had a share. County Magistrate Shin looked at the shelves and said, "Fortunately, you don't have to pay for the reward given by the imperial court. Otherwise, this earth pavilion would have been emptied by you." Carrying the heavy spiritual jades back home, Li Mu immediately realized that Zhang County magistrates had advised him to come to the county government for his sake. Compared to the county government was really rich. Not only could it satisfy his cultivation resources, but it could also support a large family. After tasting the benefits, Li Mu began to think about the remaining 12 ghost generals under his command. Li Mu hadn't used up all of the soul power from the 4 ghost generals. He still had some left and had successfully helped Lu Hanyan condense her first soul. After killing 2 more ghost generals, the 2 of them would be able to advance to the conglomerate realm. When their spiritual power reached the peak of the Jushen realm, they could begin to cultivate together. With the help of the pure yang and pure yin bodies, they could break through to the middle realm. Li Mu gave half of the spiritual jades to Lu Hanyan and said, "Leave the Yunyan pavilion to Zhang Shan. Cultivate well and try to reach the Jushen realm." Lu Hanyan held the spiritual jades in her hand as she cultivated. Li Mu walked to Xiao Bai's room and handed her the porcelain bottle. He said, "There is a demon transformation pill in here. After you eat it, the demon aura in your body will be dissolved and you won't be seen by other cultivators. You can go out and play with Wanwan in the future." Before long, Lu Hanyan walked in from outside. Seeing Xiao Bai in Li Mu's arms, she said in surprise, "Xiao Bai, why did you change back? Come, let me hug you." Xiao Bai obediently came out from Li Mu's arms and jumped into her arms. Lu Hanyan hugged her and lovingly stroked her head. Then she said to Li Mu, "Someone from the Yamen just came and asked you to go to the county Yamen." Li Mu thought that there was a case. When he arrived at the Yamen, he went straight to the front hall and asked County Magistrate Shin, "Sir, what happened?" County Magistrate Shin burped and walked to the back hall. He said, "It's nothing. Someone wants to see you. Go and see for yourself." Li Mu walked to the back hall and saw a familiar figure. After being stunned for a moment, he strode forward and asked, "Why are you here?" As soon as he finished speaking, he looked around expectantly. Hanja shook his head and said, "Don't look. She's not here." Li Mu looked away and punched Hanja's shoulder. He asked, "Why did you go down the mountain?" Hanja glanced at him and said, "It's because of you." Li Mu was stunned. Hanja looked at him and said, "I went down the mountain this time under the orders of the headmaster and the chief to see you." Li Mu was not convinced. He said, "Are you saying that the headmaster of the F-Lu school asked you to see me?" As far as Li Mu knew, the chief of the F-Lu school was a transcendent powerhouse, a true upper realm powerhouse. To Li Mu, the powerful and invincible Thousand Illusions Shangren was just a slightly stronger ant in front of a transcendent powerhouse. How could such an existence know about him? You don't have to doubt it. I was indeed ordered by the headmaster to come to the county Yamen to see you. Hanja looked at him and said, "It's not just the headmaster. In all of Mount Baiyun, in the ancestral court of F-Lu School, there is no one who doesn't know your name. In the cultivation world, besides you, there is no second person who dares to point at the heavens and curse the earth." Li Mu glanced at him and said, "Enough nonsense. What business does the F-Lu School's headmaster have with me?" Hanja asked, "Do you want to become a disciple of the F-Lu School?" Li Mu shook his head and said, I don't want to. Several months ago, in Yangqiu County, the chief of the 5th branch of the ancestral court of F. Lu School, Taoist Hyun Jinko, and the chief of the 5th branch of the Xuanzong, Taoist Miao Dun, both invited Li Mu once, but he refused. At that time, Li Mu wanted to be free. This time, although the reason for his refusal was different, the result was the same. Han Zhi didn't expect Li Mu's reaction to be so calm. He asked in surprise, why? Li Mu said, I'm doing well in the county yamen. I have no interest in joining any sect. Han Zhi looked at him and asked, don't you want to see her? Li Mu was silent for a moment, then asked, is she doing well? After all, their power was bestowed by the heavens and the earth. If they disrespected the heavens and the earth, they would easily be punished by the heavens. Li Mu didn't think of this at the time. He thought that there shouldn't be many stupid cultivators who would imitate him. In a dilapidated temple outside the county city, a slovenly Taoist priest in a dirty Taoist robe formed a seal with one hand and pointed at the sky with the other. He shouted, Earth, you can't tell good from bad. What is earth? Heaven, rumble. A purplish-black bolt of lightning descended from the clouds. The Taoist priest's figure disappeared from the spot. The dilapidated temple collapsed with a loud bang, leaving behind only ruins and a huge scorched pit that was dozens of feet deep. In the open space outside the dilapidated temple, there was a flash of light. The Taoist priest's staggering figure appeared. Dark clouds gathered in the sky. Another bolt of lightning descended, striking the Taoist priest's head. The Taoist priest jumped up and down in the open space. He shouted, I was wrong. I was wrong. Don't strike me. I won't dare to curse again. More than 10 bolts of lightning descended before the dark clouds in the sky gradually dissipated. The Taoist priest sat in a scorched pit. His face was full of shock. He muttered, Taoist magic. It's really Taoist magic. It's a pity that I can't learn it. I have to be struck for nothing, he sighed. His face was full of envy. He said bitterly, why can't it be me? Damn it. How can it be so easy for others to create Taoist magic? When can I transcend? No, I have to ask for advice. Could it be that there's some technique in it? Yuntai County, south of the North County. In a tea house in the county city, the rhythmic voice of a storyteller was heard. Before Do-yi died, she made 3 great wishes. Blood splattered everywhere, snow in June, and drought for 3 years. Heaven and earth felt wronged. Her 3 vows came true one by one. There were no empty seats in the tea house. If one looked carefully, there were not only ordinary people, but also the county governor of Yuntai County, the county minister, the county lieutenant, and the county magistrate. The storyteller had never seen such a scene before. His heart trembled. Cold sweat broke out on his forehead. However, he still had to control his emotions and tell the story honestly. After the story of Do-yi's injustice, everyone in the tea house was in a heavy mood. The county governor of Yuntai County looked at the people behind him and said, I hope you will take note of what happened in the North County and Yang County. Such things are not allowed to happen in Yuntai County. Yes. More than 10 county magistrates nodded solemnly. Before the evil spirit appeared in the North County, no one would have thought that such a thing would happen. The county magistrate's family was slaughtered. The county magistrate of Yang County was massacred. Chapter 177. In the deep palace, there was no sound at all. One could hear a pin drop. A moment later, a dignified voice came from the curtain behind the table again. What do you think? The young female official stood with her hands down and said, He's so courageous at such a young age. He can distinguish right from wrong. If he's nurtured, he can be a good official. It's a waste to let him stay in the North County. Behind the table, the slender hand put the file aside and picked up another memorial. You can make the arrangements. The young female official crossed her hands and bowed. Yes, Your Majesty. North County City, restaurant. When Li Mu picked up his wine cup, he sneezed a few times and rubbed his nose. When he looked across, he saw that Hanja was already lying on the table like a pile of mud. Zhang Shan and Li Si helped him out of the restaurant. Li Mu said to junior sister Qin, "I'll leave him to you." Junior sister Qin nodded and asked Li Mu, "Are you really not going to Fulu school?" "I'm not going." Li Mu smiled and said, "Help me thank the sect master for his good intentions." "All right then." Junior sister Qin carried Hanja on her back and said, "We're leaving." Li Mu watched the two of them leave and suddenly felt a little melancholic. Li Si asked, "What's wrong? Do you miss your boss?" Li Mu did not answer. Li Si patted his shoulder and said, "The more you can't get someone, the harder it is to let go. Let me give you a piece of advice. Don't always think about the past. Cherish the present." Seeing Hanj, Li Mu could not help but think of Li Qing. However, it was not like what Li Si had said. In order to prove that he cherished the present, Li Mu personally cooked soup for 4 hours and sent it to Lu Hanyan, who was busy in the Yunyan pavilion. Lu Hanyan was reviewing the manuscript. Without raising her head, she said, "Put it aside first. I'll drink it later." "It'll be cold soon." Li Mu picked up the spoon and brought it to her mouth, saying, "Open your mouth, I'll feed you." Lu Hanyan opened her mouth and drank a mouthful of soup. Suddenly, she looked at Li Mu and asked, "Why are you suddenly so nice to me? Did you do something wrong?" Li Mu felt inexplicably guilty. Then, he shook his head and said, "What guilt could I have? I was kind enough to feed you, but you actually doubted me. You can drink the rest yourself." After deceiving Lu Hanyan, Li Mu returned home and prepared to go into seclusion for a few days to fuse his 3 souls into one and completely form his primordial spirit. Although the 3 souls and the primordial spirit were both soul bodies, they were fundamentally different. Before forming the immortal soul, if one's physical body died, he could only become a ghostly cultivator and could not be called a human. Even if one's cultivation reached a high level in the future and reconstructed his body, it would still be fundamentally different from a real mortal body. When ghosts possessed the bodies of living people, it was called possession. When the primordial spirit devoured the souls of others, it could borrow their bodies to be reborn. For cultivators who formed the primordial spirit, as long as their primordial spirit was not destroyed, they were not really dead. Li Mu used a few days to finally fuse his 3 souls into one and form his primordial spirit, stepping into the assembled spirit realm. After that, the cultivation would not be so complicated. Step by step, when the accumulation of mana was enough, he could break through to the middle 3 realms. It was just that this process would be very long. Li Qing's rapid progress was because she had more than 10 years of accumulation before she reached the assembled spirit realm. Under normal circumstances, with Li Mu's cultivation speed, it would take several years to reach the peak of the assembled spirit realm from the early stage. Other than yin and yang dual cultivation, the fastest way to increase the speed of cultivation was to use spiritual jades. Li Mu prepared to go to the county office to see if there were any suitable tasks that he could use to exchange for spiritual jades. At the entrance of the county office, Li Mu met a beggar. After taking a closer look, he found that the beggar was somewhat familiar. Li Mu was stunned for a moment and asked, "Senior, what are you doing here?" The slovenly Taoist priest brushed the messy hair on his forehead and said in surprise, "Why is it you again?" He looked at Li Mu and clicked his tongue. "The first time this old man saw you, you were just an ordinary person. The second time I saw you, you were about to condense your soul. It's only been 2 months, and the third time I saw you, you've already condensed your soul. Your path of cultivation is not small at all. It's nothing." Li Mu said politely and asked, "Senior, is there anything I can help you with?" "You came at the right time." The Taoist priest pointed inside the county office and said, "There is a person called Li Mu. Is he in your county office? Call him out. I have something to ask him." Li Mu was stunned for a moment and said, "I am." The Taoist priest stared at him and asked, "You are Li Mu, the guy who pointed at the sky and cursed the earth but was not struck by lightning?" Li Mu nodded and said, That's me. Come. The Taoist priest pulled Li Mu to the steps of the side door and sat down. He said expectantly, "Tell me, how did you create that Taoist technique of yours? Do you have any experience to impart to me?" Li Mu was pulled to sit on the steps. He shook his head and said, "I don't have any experience. I just told a story." The Taoist priest scratched his head and said in annoyance, "Damn it. You can create Taoist techniques by telling a story. I have tried for 20 years and didn't even get a fart. This old bastard." In the end, he did not dare to curse the heavens. He covered his mouth and muttered a few words. He sighed and said, "There is no justice, no justice." Li Mu was puzzled and asked, "Senior, do you want to create your own Taoist technique?" The Taoist priest glanced at him and said angrily, "If you don't create your own Taoist technique, how can you transcend?" Li Mu used to guess that the Taoist priest's cultivation should be above the creation realm. Now, he was almost certain that he was a strong person in Dongxian, and not an ordinary Dongxian. It was very likely that he was a cultivator at the peak of Dongxian like the Thousand Illusions Venerable. From Dongxian to transcendence, it was the transformation from the middle three realms to the upper three realms. Ordinary guidance cultivation could not cross this gap. Only by creating one's own Taoist technique, gaining the recognition of heaven and earth, and being tempered by the power of heaven and earth, could one break through the barrier of Dongxian to transcendence. This was the reason why Miss Xiaoyu's cultivation was at the fifth realm when she had just died. Although this Taoist technique was created by Li Mu, it was not comprehended by Li Mu himself. Li Mu was only borrowing Taoist techniques like the 9 syllables. Otherwise, his current cultivation would be far beyond the spirit condensation realm. If one day he could cultivate to Dongxian, he would also need to comprehend his own Taoist technique before he could go further and step into the upper 3 realms of cultivation. Li Mu cupped his hands at the Taoist priest and said, "Senior, I hope you can comprehend your Taoist technique and transcend as soon as possible." The old man sighed and said, "There's no point in staying in the North County. Kid, I'm leaving. We'll meet again if fate wills it." As soon as the old man finished speaking, his body gradually faded in Li Mu's eyes and finally disappeared completely. Li Mu looked at the place where the old man was sitting with a face full of envy. The lower 3 realms of cultivation was only the most basic stage. With his cultivation at the 3rd realm, he could only pray for sunshine and rain in a small area, take things in the air, and draw some fulu. For example, walking on water and sitting on fire, controlling the wind and spitting out flames, chi restriction, and other techniques could only be learned after reaching the transcendent realm. In order to shorten the time needed to advance to the transcendent realm, Li Mu had to perform more meritorious deeds for the yamen in order to obtain enough spiritual jades. Li Mu walked into the front hall and only saw Constable Zhao. He looked around and asked, "Where's Lord Shen?" Constable Zhao said, "He's drunk and resting in the back hall." "Why are you looking for Lord Shen?" Li Mu said, "Nothing much. I just wanted to ask if the yamen has any errands for the next few days." Constable Zhao lamented, "Everyone else avoids their jobs like the plague, but you're the only one who can't wait. No wonder it took me 20 years to get to the position of constable, but you only took 2 months. You can't compare people, you can't compare." Li Mu said, "My luck played a large part. Don't worry, I won't be jealous of you." Constable Zhao patted him on the shoulder and said, "However, I have to remind you that even though you've been in the limelight this time and have become famous throughout the Great Zhou dynasty, you can't be careless. There are some things that you have to know." Li Mu sat opposite Constable Zhao and asked, "What things?" Constable Zhao asked, "Do you know why the imperial court spread the news about Yang County?" Li Mu nodded and said, "It's because His Majesty wants to intimidate the local officials and unite the people." Constable Zhao shook his head and said, "It's not as simple as you think. This seems to be a matter of our North County, but it actually involves the struggle between the old and new parties." Li Mu had always been in the North County and didn't know much about the imperial court. Hearing this, he asked, "What are the old and new parties?" Constable Zhao explained, "The new party is the party that supports Her Majesty the Empress. The old party is the nobles led by the Shao clan. They have always wanted Her Majesty to remain in the Shao clan. In the past few years, the two parties have been fighting openly and covertly, causing the entire imperial court to be in turmoil. It also has a great impact on the local areas. The people have suffered greatly. Li Mu asked, "What does this have to do with me?" "Of course it has to do with you." Constable Zhao glanced at him and continued, "His Majesty used this matter to unite the people of the North County and intimidate the local officials of the 36 counties. Naturally, the old party doesn't want to see this happen. The first imperial envoy to the North County was sent by the old party. They don't care about the people of the North County at all. The more the people of the imperial court are divided, the more advantageous it is for them. When His Majesty completely loses the people's hearts, it will be time for them to force His Majesty to return the throne." Li Mu frowned and said, "For the sake of the struggle between the parties, they don't even care about the lives of the people?" Constable Zhao said, "A woman ascending the throne is not a legitimate position. Although the old party doesn't dare to openly oppose His Majesty, they have done many things in secret. Their power is intertwined and deeply rooted in the imperial court. Even His Majesty can't do anything about it." He looked at Li Mu again and said, "To a large extent, the incident in Yang County has won the hearts of the people for His Majesty. This is something the old party doesn't want to see. Although they won't do anything to you openly, you still have to be careful." Li Mu pursed his lips and said, "I'm just a constable. I don't want to get involved in these things. In life, there are too many things that are beyond one's control." Constable Zhao shook his head and said, "Whether you are willing or not, after this incident, in their eyes, you will be Her Majesty's man." Chapter 179. Li Mu had seen the two horns on the head of the woman in the coffin last time, but he did not think that she was a dragon. This kind of legendary race was too far away from them. It was not an exaggeration to say that the dragon race of the 4 seas was the strongest race in the 10 continents and 3 islands. When dragons were just born, they had the strength of a human of the 4th level. They could ride the clouds and summon the rain. Although they were not as strong as humans because of their small numbers and difficulty in reproduction, they were still the overlords of the sea. The White Demon King's wife was actually a dragon. Xuandu walked to the bottom of the stone platform and looked at the ice coffin. He said, "This coffin is quite mysterious. It's like there are 2 worlds inside and outside the coffin." The White Demon King nodded and said, "Grandmaster is wise. Inside this coffin is a world created by a supreme cultivator. It is completely isolated from the outside world. If it wasn't for this, my wife's soul would have already dissipated." Xuandu shook his head and said, "But this way, the mana of outsiders cannot enter the coffin." He leapt onto the stone platform and said, "Let me try." He pressed one hand on the coffin and his palm emitted a golden light. However, it was blocked by the coffin and could not enter the coffin at all. After a while, Xuandu retracted his palm and shook his head lightly. Even though the White Demon King was already mentally prepared, he still could not help but reveal a look of disappointment. Li Mu walked onto the stone platform and said to Xuandu, "Master Xuandu, please lend me your mana." This was not the first time the two of them worked together like this. Xuandu pressed one hand on Li Mu's shoulder and a steady stream of mana flowed into Li Mu's body. His peak 4th level mana was hundreds and thousands of times stronger than Li Mu's. Li Mu silently chanted the Heart Sutra and pressed his hand on the ice coffin. The Buddhist light triggered by the Heart Sutra was still blocked by the ice coffin. Li Mu focused and began to shrink the range of the golden light. The golden light on his entire palm gradually shrunk to the size of a thumb. Below the stone platform, the green bull demon's eyes suddenly widened. The golden light, which had been completely excluded from the coffin lid, actually went in a little. Although it wasn't even half an inch, it was still a huge breakthrough. The White Demon King's breathing slowed down as a strong sense of hope appeared in his eyes. Even an eminent monk of the sixth realm, the Freedom Realm, would not be able to penetrate the light of Buddha through the coffin lid. Yet Li Mu, who was at the third realm, did it. Perhaps he could really create a miracle. Li Mu focused his mind and focused all his magic power on a single point. In the end, he could only make the golden light penetrate an inch into the coffin lid, not even half the distance. Although Benefactor Li can stabilize her essence soul and prevent it from dissipating, he still needs a huge amount of soul power to wake her up. The White Demon King looked at the woman in the coffin with a thoughtful expression. Amitabha. Xuandu chanted a Buddhist proclamation and said, I know that the Demon King is kind to save your wife, but you must not fall into the evil path. The White Demon Monarch sighed and said, Don't worry, Grandmaster. I have never let down the heavens, the earth, and my heart. Even if I were to sacrifice my soul, I would never do anything against the evil path. The simplest and fastest way to obtain a large amount of soul power was to create a zombie disaster in Zhou County like Venerable Thousand Illusions and secretly harvest the soul power of more than 1,000 people. From the White Demon King's education to Bai Xin and her sister, he was probably not such a demon. But this way, he would not be able to collect so much soul power unless he sacrificed himself in exchange for his wife's life. Unless there was a way for him to collect enough soul power without committing heinous acts. An idea flashed through Li Mu's mind, and he suddenly said, I have a way to let the Demon King obtain a large amount of soul power. The White Demon King immediately looked at him and asked, What way? Li Mu smiled and said, Chu Jiang of Gojoseon has 12 ghost generals under him. They commit all kinds of evil in the North County. Killing them and taking their souls can not only eliminate evil for the people but also obtain soul power. 12 ghost generals? Xuandu said in surprise, Why did I hear that Chu Jiang of Gojoseon has 18 ghost generals under him? Li Mu explained, Because of some reasons there are only 12 left. Xuandu shook his head and said, I'm afraid the soul power of the 12 ghost generals is not enough. What if there's Chu Jiang of Gojoseon? Li Mu continued, Chu Jiang of Gojoseon is the biggest threat in the North County. The county government has wanted to get rid of him for a long time. If the Demon King wants to get rid of him, the county government will definitely support him. No matter how strong Chu Jiang of Gojoseon is, can he defeat the Demon King and the county government working together? Xuandu thought about it and said, This is a perfect plan. Chu Jiang of Gojoseon is a big threat in the North County. If the Demon King and the county government plan to work together to kill him, I will not sit by and watch. The White Demon King thought for a moment and cupped his fists at Li Mu. He said, I'll have to ask you to contact the county government. Li Mu nodded and said, Of course. The county government wanted to kill Chu Jiang of Gojoseon more than the White Demon King. If there was such a good thing, County Magistrate Shen would probably wake up laughing in his dreams. How could he not agree? No matter how strong Chu Jiang of Gojoseon was, he was only at the 5th realm. The White Demon King looked at them and said, This is your Uncle Xuandu and this is your Uncle Li Mu. When you see them in the future, be more polite. The two sisters' beautiful eyes suddenly widened. Bai Tingxin looked at Li Mu and said in disbelief, Uncle? Li Mu patted her head and said with a smile, Good niece. Don't even think about making me call you uncle. Li Mu looked at the green snake who was in the rebellious stage and said, It seems that I need to tell Brother Bai to discipline his daughter. Green Snake's expression changed. How dare you? Li Mu smiled and asked, Why don't you take a guess? Bai Tingxin rolled her eyes and smiled again. She hugged his arm and shook it. I'm just joking with you, Uncle Li Mu. Don't mind me, everything had its vanquisher. It seemed that if he wanted to subdue this green snake, he still had to use the White Demon King. Li Mu glanced at her and said, Go play somewhere else. I want to rest. Bai Tingxin did not leave. Instead, she extended her hand to him. Li Mu asked, "What are you doing?" Bai Tingxin said matter-of-factly, "It's the first time an elder meets a junior. Don't tell me you didn't prepare a gift?" Li Mu shook his head and said, "It's not the first time we met. It's different in the past." Bai Tingxin explained, "I didn't call you uncle before. If you didn't prepare a gift, teach me the spell that uses lightning to strike people." Li Mu refused. "That's a Taoist technique. I only teach it to my own people. I don't teach it to outsiders." Li Mu had taught the confrontation formula to Li Qing, Lu Hanyan, and Wanwan. He had not even taught it to Xiao Bai yet, let alone this snake. Bai Tingxin was disappointed. "I treat you as an uncle, but you treat me as an outsider?" Li Mu thought about it and took out a piece of spiritual jade. He said, "This spiritual jade is for you. Take it as a gift for our first meeting." Bai Tingxin looked at him and asked, "Uncle, can't you be more sincere?" Li Mu thought that after becoming sworn brothers with the White Demon King, this green snake would not dare to be presumptuous in front of him. He did not expect that not only did she not restrain herself, she became even more aggressive. He thought about it and said, "I don't want to. Let's talk on our own terms. I call you Dad Big Brother, and you call me Li Mu. We'll also address each other as equals." "Of course not," Bai Tingxin said firmly. "Won't that mess up the seniority? I'll call you uncle. It's only right for an uncle to help his niece cultivate. I'm about to condense my Yao core. Uncle Li Mu will definitely help me, right?" Li Mu knew what Bai Tingxin wanted. He was severely exhausted and had just recovered a little. If he helped her once, he would be drained dry again. Li Mu stood up with the help of a tree. He said, "I can't help you. Goodbye." Bai Tingxin pressed on Li Mu's shoulder, and Li Mu sat down again. Bai Tingxin was surprised. She said, "So you don't have any strength?" Li Mu leaned on the tree and said, "I'm exhausted because I saved your mother. If you still have a bit of humanity, let me have a good rest." "But I'm not human to begin with, Tingxin." The White Demon King's voice came from behind. Bai Tingxin's expression changed. She immediately helped Li Mu up and said with concern, "Oh, Uncle Li, are you okay? Let me help you up." The White Demon King walked forward and said, "Third brother, I'll leave the county office to you." Li Mu smiled. "Don't worry, Brother Bai. The county office has long wanted to get rid of Chu Jiang of Gojoseon. They won't let go of this opportunity." The White Demon King looked at Bai Yinxin and said, "Yinxin, you go with Uncle Li to the county capital. If there's any news, you can report back immediately." Bai Tingxin heard and immediately said, "I want to go too." The White Demon King looked at her and said, "Your sister has something important to do. What are you going to do?" Bai Tingxin ran over and held Bai Yinxin's arm. She said, "I'm about to condense my Yao core. If anything happens, I can help, sister." The White Demon King thought for a moment and said, "You can come along. But no matter what happens, you have to listen to sister and Uncle Li. You can't be willful. Otherwise, you can only cultivate in the mountains in the future." Bai Tingxin nodded repeatedly. I know. Lu Hanyan was still in Yangqiu County. Li Mu took the flying boat and separated from Xuandu outside the city. Only the Bai sisters were left with him. Then he realized a problem. Although they had followed him this time because they had something serious to do, how was he going to explain to Lu Hanyan that he had only gone out for a stroll and there were 2 snakes by his side? Thinking about it carefully, the trust between him and Lu Hanyan had reached a point where there was no need to say anything more. When Li Qing was mentioned, she would still be jealous. However, no matter how jealous she was, she would not be jealous of her niece. After figuring this out, Li Mu walked towards the Yunyan Pavilion with ease. Wanwan and Xiao Bai sat in the tea house. The table in front of them was filled with all kinds of pastries. When she looked up and saw Li Mu enter, she immediately stood up and waved her hand. "Young master." Her gaze swept past the Bai sisters behind Li Mu. When she saw Bai Tingxin, her face turned pale. She immediately hid behind Xiao Bai and said in shock, "There's a snake." "A huge snake?" Bai Tingxin was shocked. How did she see through me? As the time of cultivation grew longer and her transcendence energy became more profound, Wan Wan's spirit eyes could finally unleash the effects of this kind of physique. Bai Xin had already condensed her Yao core. Her demonic aura was not obvious, so she could not see through her. Bai Tingxin was only at the third realm, so she could see through her at a glance. Li Mu walked to Wan Wan's side and comforted her. "Don't be afraid. She's one of us." After he finished speaking, he asked Xiao Bai, "Where's Sister Han Yen?" Xiao Bai retracted her gaze from the Bai sisters and said, "Sister Han Yen is upstairs." Lu Han Yen happened to come down from upstairs,